Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. What's Open Mic? Well, you see, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we take time to take some live questions, but here on the weekends on Open Mic, that's all we do. It's just all open live questions, and I hope you guys are having a great weekend so far. I've had a bit of a mixed weekend already. I've already had a little bit of a mixed weekend. You see, started off great with the big UFC. It was in Abu Dhabi, so it was a little bit early. It's kind of nice having the fights early, I got to say. Great card, fantastic card, great card of fights. Obviously, climaxing in the Khabib Nurmagomedov fight versus Dustin Poirier. Poirier is a legit beast. He is a beast. But Khabib is the baddest man on the planet. I don't care. I don't care. You put him in the ring against a pride of wild lions, Khabib will win that fight probably without taking a scratch. He is the baddest man on the planet. He just destroyed Poirier. Like, destroyed him. Made him look terrible. And Poirier is like one of the baddest men on the planet too, himself. So anyway, but then my day took a turn for the worse. Because with all the drama going on with Antonio the Clown Brown, an immensely talented football player who is just also a first-rate jackass. Totally self-centered, all about himself, thinks he's above the rules, thinks he's above everybody else, thinks the rules don't apply to him, he's looking out for him, period. Didn't even make it one game with the Raiders because he's such a selfish, ignorant moron. So who signs him? My New England Patriots. For those of you not heard, my New England Patriots have signed Antonio the Clown Brown. And I just don't understand why any team would sign him. This guy is a destructive piece of nature. He ran himself out of Pittsburgh. He couldn't even make it to one game with the Raiders. And now he goes, I have no idea what Belichick, Robert Kraft, the New York, I don't know what the Patriots are thinking signing this guy. The only thing I can even remotely imagine, and I know this has been a lot of sports talk already for a show talking about movies and television, but indulge me for a second here because this is bothering me. The only thing that I can imagine that is going through their heads, because I don't understand this move at all. I do not understand this move at all. Because Patriots football is all about every single guy on that team knowing their role, looking out for the team first, not caring about themselves or what they do, just to contribute in whatever role they're supposed to do. And that is not Antonio the Clown Brown. That's not Antonio Brown at all. The only thing I can think of is this. See, I don't think Antonio Brown, who is me, he is not gonna survive in an environment with the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Belichick. Darth Lord of the Sith, he ain't gonna handle it there. Bill Belichick is gonna be cracking the whip. Bill Belichick is it's my way or the FU highway. That's Bill Belichick. Antonio the Clown Brown is not gonna survive there. He is going to be begging on his hands and knees. He's going to be on his little Instagram. He's going to be on his little Twitter crying, please let me out. Please let me out. I can't survive here. I can't make it under Darth Belichick. The Emperor Palpatine was more forgiving than Darth Belichick. Let me out. Please let me out. He's going to be crying by game 4. He's going to be crying to be let out of there by game 4. Because he has no respect for authority, and Bill Belichick, Darth Lord of Sith, has no tolerance for anybody who is not willing to play their role for the betterment of the team. You step out of line with Bill Belichick once, bye-bye. You're riding the pine bench, my friend. The only thing, and I don't know what kind of madness, I honestly have no idea what sort of madness and insanity has gripped the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick and Kraft and the rest of them. The only thing I can imagine is that maybe they think that the only coach in the NFL who can make Antonio the Clown Brown bend the knee is Bill Belichick. Maybe they're thinking Bill Belichick is the guy. because he's done it with other problem players in the NFL before. I'll give him that. Belichick has taken in some troubled NFL players and he's made them into team men. He's done it before. I don't think you can do it with Antonio the Clown Brown, though. Antonio the Clown Brown is all about himself. He does not fit the New England Patriots at all. And I'll tell you what, if by some stretch of the imagination, Bill Belichick and his dark force powers, if he hits, Brown with enough of that dark force lightning under his little emperor hood enough to actually make Antonio Brown not commit one thing of insubordination, start thinking team first, and actually contribute to the whole, if Belichick can get Antonio the Clown Brown to do that, then he is the greatest coach. I mean, he's already probably the greatest coach in NFL history, but he's absolutely the greatest coach in NFL history if he can make that happen. But I don't think that's possible. I do not think Antonio Brown will survive in a place that demands discipline because he has none. He'll be begging by week 4 to get out. Now, obviously, as a Patriots fan, I hope it works. I mean, look, it would be the greatest thing in the world if, Brady, the GOAT quarterback, can hit, Antonio Brown for 17 touchdowns this season, get 1,400 yards, blah, blah. It would be great. I would love it. That'd be fantastic. But Antonio the Clown Brown will not make it to week 4. He'll be begging to get out. He'll be hopping on his Instagram, and he'll be, Bill Belichick is making me practice. That's what he'll be doing. That's what he'll be doing. I hope I'm wrong. I just don't understand what the hell the Patriots are thinking. I really don't. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope Belichick forces him to turn over a new leaf. I don't know. Anyway. So here we go, guys. That's how my day's gone so far. The first 7 minutes have been me complaining about what the hell are my Patriots doing. Anyway, let's now move on, guys, and get to the live questions you guys have been firing in. So let's get on over there and start taking them right now. Okay, the first one we're getting to comes to us from Tony Hurd, who writes, if you want to know how big the Chinese film market is, the 7th and 9th highest grossing movies this year are from China, and 99% of it came from China. Here's the thing about that, Tony, is that I make no secret about it. I question the legitimacy of the Chinese reporting of the Chinese box office numbers of the Chinese films. I have openly, and I still to this day, I've asked certain people some questions that I have not gotten satisfactory answers on. And look, I'm not going to point the finger and I say, I absolutely know there's shenanigans going on here. I can't do that. But I'm just going to leave it at saying, it just looks a little shady to me. I question the Chinese reporting of the Chinese box office numbers of Chinese films. I'm just saying some of them just look a little shady to me. I've asked a few industry individuals some questions before that I've gotten some really sketchy answers on. And again, I'm not saying that's the way it is. I'm just saying I question it a little bit, and I still do. Tony, I should say, follows up and writes, I'm lucky to have an AMC near me that shows foreign movies from different countries. It's interesting to see how other countries make movies. You know what? That's one of the things that I really like about what AMC does. They really do have a commitment to showing a lot of independent film and showing foreign film as well. In the 3 AMCs in my neighborhood, I got 3 AMCs all within about a 15-minute walk of me. The AMC 6, the AMC 8, and then the big AMC 16. And they are always playing movies from the Philippines, Bollywood films, various other foreign films, as well as some like smaller indie projects as well. And I like it that we have that our major theater chains have at least some degree of commitment to trying to highlight and show these sorts of movies for the communities. I think that's a great thing. And I'm glad that the theaters near you, Tony, are doing that as well. All right. Logan James Kynaston sends in a big super chat. Thank you, Logan, for supporting the channel on that level, man. I appreciate that. One of my favorite films so far this year is A Vigilante with Olivia Wilde. It's currently sitting at a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I haven't heard anyone talking about it. Have you seen it? If not, I highly recommend it. I have not seen it. I know a lot about the film. So it's almost a little bit like the most recent The Girl Caught in the Spider Web with Claire Foy, the sequel, well, sort of soft reboot, whatever, of the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Olivia Wilde plays this woman who goes and takes vengeance upon men who domestically abuse their spouses. That's the basic gist of it. I've heard great things about it, but the reason you're not hearing anybody talking about it, Logan, is it never played anywhere for anybody to see it. And while I am often guilty of getting a lot of press invites to a lot of movies that I just ignore and I don't go to, that's one. The Vigilante is one I never even saw a press invite to, personally. That doesn't mean there wasn't one. That doesn't mean there wasn't necessarily a press. Maybe I just didn't get invited. But normally I get all these invites in my inboxes, and I didn't even see one for that. And I personally wasn't aware of it playing in any theaters here. So I've heard it's a really solid film, but it's tough to get a lot of people talking about it when most people didn't even have the opportunity to see it. Now, if I'm not mistaken, it came out, I think it made its debut in February or March, something like that. So it should be available on home video at some point. And with Olivia Wilde, so I'm glad you put it back on my radar, because if Olivia Wilde's in it, I think I want to check it out. Again, I've heard nothing but good things about it, and it's Olivia Wilde. I'm all about Olivia Wilde. So I think I'm going to have to check it out. So I don't think a lot of people have heard of it, Logan, but because of you, now they have. And so thank you for putting on a lot of people's and putting it back on my radar. So thank you for that. All right. Tom Gillard writes, John, did you know they had to de-age the kids for It too, because they grew since the first? I didn't even notice. I also agree with you on the movie. I did not love the movie. I love the first one. Love the first one that they did a couple years ago. I was not a fan of the second one. I don't think the second one was terrible. I don't think Chapter 2 is awful. But I also don't think it was good. And that's unfortunate. You know what? I had heard that they did some digital de-aging on the kids. But I'll tell you what, I didn't even think about that. It looked great. I never thought about it once watching the movie. I never once thought there was a shot where it's like, it looks like that kid's got some digital work being done on him. I never thought that once. And that's a testimony to how good they did. Now, granted, there wasn't major changes they had to make to them, right? And it's not like they went from 13 years old to 45 years old. But it was only minor changes. But still, I didn't notice it. And I think that's a high compliment that you can give to the digital effects team when you can do all this effects work and you don't even notice it. So I think that's great. And yeah, again, I just wish the movie was better. The first one was so good. The second one just, I don't know. I think it bought into its own hype a little bit too much. But anyway, there's that. But hey, there are other people who like the film, and that's great. Vrinder Singh sends in an extremely large super chat. Vrinder, dude, thank you so much for supporting the channel on that level, man. That is incredibly generous. Thank you so much. I hope I know how to answer the question, whatever it is. Okay, so anyway, Vrinder writes, Hi, John. I'm still kind of taken aback by that. Thank you, Vrinder. Hi, John. Like you, I live and breathe Star Wars. Can't wait for The Mandalorian, but don't know when Disney Plus is starting here in UK. If I can't watch it same time as you and have to miss the after shows and spoiler talks, I will go crazy. And you know what? That is really a big issue that we only touched on a little bit the other day, because the other day on the John Campea Show, we were talking about The Mandalorian, and we were saying The Mandalorian is probably going to end up being the single most pirated piece of entertainment maybe in history. Not because it's going to be the best show in history, maybe it will, maybe it won't, who knows, but because it's being so hyped. It's a Star Wars thing. Everybody's talking about it. And it's not going to be available everywhere. See, it's going to open November 11th, or so November 12th, I should say, when Disney Plus opens in the North American market and in a handful of other markets as well. But there's a lot of places that we still don't know when Disney Plus is going to be available there, or if Disney Plus is going to license their content to existing streaming services in those markets. We just don't know yet. And that, for the fan community, is going to pose a bit of a problem. Where there are going to be fans like you, Vrinder, and understand, my opinion I don't judge anybody, but to me, piracy is stealing. It's stealing. It just is. I don't judge anybody. That's what they do. But if you're going to ask me, piracy is theft. It just is. You are taking something that was created for the intention of sale, and you're taking it, you're circumventing it to take it without paying for it. It's thievery. It's stealing. But this strategy that they have, and I'm not saying it's a bad strategy Disney has with the rollout of Disney Plus, but one of the repercussions of this strategy is that you're going to have this highly anticipated show that you're marketing and creating buzz for and getting everybody excited about, and you want everybody to talk about, and most people in the world aren't even going to be able to see it for what? 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years? People are going to pirate this show. I'm not encouraging it. What I'm saying is that Disney, by taking this approach, they're encouraging it. So I, Vrinder, would never sit here and endorse piracy, but I gotta tell you, I fully expect a lot of people around the world who would be fully willing to pay their money to watch The Mandalorian if only there was an actual avenue that they could pay their money to watch it. There are going to be a lot of people around the world who are completely willing to put up their money and say, shut up and take my money so they can watch The Mandalorian, but because Disney is offering them no sanctioned, legal, above board way to do it, these people who want to do it the right way are going to be faced with a choice. And their choice is going to be, I either got to pirate it, or I have to go and live in a cave in the mountains for the next 14 months to hopefully not hear any spoilers and hear everything being given away about The Mandalorian until I have a chance to legally watch it. And that's the situation that a lot of these people are going to find themselves in. And I think a lot of well-meaning, good, honest people who want to be legitimate and want to pay for their content are going to be forced with that choice. It's either I just got to hear about it from everybody else and not even have a way available to me to watch it, or I got to pirate it. And I think there's going to be a lot. I think The Mandalorian is not only going to be the most pirated show, I think it's going to be the show and piece of content that is going to create more first-time pirators than ever before in the history of entertainment and digital content. I think The Mandalorian is going to pop a lot of virgin pirating cherries for a lot of people who have never pirated anything before, but they're going to pirate this because Disney isn't giving them a above board, legitimate way to pay their money to watch it. It's like if you're not even given the opportunity, you're just begging them to pirate it. So, yeah, Vrinder, I listen. I just think you will probably end up, even if you don't intend to, someone's going to flash in front of you, want to see The Mandalorian? And at some point, no matter how strong your will is, it's going to get beaten down and you're going to go, yes, I want to watch it even though I don't want to pirate. And it is going to happen. I think that scenario is going to play out all over the world. It really is. Now, look, I'm not blaming Disney. They're doing the best they can to roll it out when they can. But the reality is, even though I don't really think anybody's at fault, regardless of that, it's created a situation that is a perfect storm that is going to encourage a lot of people to pirate this thing. And how big of an issue that will be, we'll have to wait and see. Again, I'm not encouraging anybody to do it. I'm just saying a lot of people are going to do it because Disney isn't coming up with legitimate alternatives for people who want to support and watch and discuss and talk about this content to see it legitimately. And if you don't give them legitimate ways to do it, they're going to find illegitimate ways to do it. So, I mean, it is what it is, Vrinder. It's going to be a really interesting thing to see how this goes. And again, Vrinder, thank you so much for supporting the channel on that level, man. We really appreciate it, dude. All right. We move on now. Ben Rayner writes, would you agree that Oliver, Sarah Lance, and Slade are the three best Arrowverse characters? I'm trying to think of as good one chant. Maybe Wells season 1. Oliver, definitely. Slade, played by Manu Bennett, definitely. But you know what? I know a lot of people don't like Felicity, but this is when Arrow worked best. Arrow worked best when it was the Trinity. It was Arrow, Felicity, and Diggle. And it was the three of them, fighting to protect the city. They were still going on Oliver's dad's diary, The List. That's when this show worked best. So it's hard for me not to say either Diggle or Felicity. But you know what? Yeah, I will. I may change my mind later, but you know what, Ben? I'm going to go with you on this. I'm going to say that Oliver, Slade, and Sarah are the three best characters. Not Laurel Lance, Sarah Lance. I'm going to go with you that those are the three best characters that's ever been on the show. I will go with you on that one. I might change my mind later when I think about it more, but I'm going to go with you on that one for now. All right, Nick writes, 104. Wow, 104. Okay. All right, John, here we go. Here's some of my favorite movies in no particular order. Hope you agree with most of them. I'm a bit shy sharing these. Back to the Future. Everybody loves those. Jurassic Park. That's great. Shawshank Redemption, one of the greatest of all time. Oblivion. I'm not a big fan of Oblivion. But you're not alone, Nick. I know a few other people that really, really dig that movie. Didn't work for me, but it worked for a lot of people. Matrix, Iron Man, Lord of the Rings, Avengers, I Am Sam, that's great. Avatar, Finding Nemo, Toy Story, E.T., Groundhog Day, that's one that doesn't get mentioned enough. Ghostbusters, the originals, Die Hard, Castaway, love Castaway, Passengers. You know what's funny? Rob really likes Passengers and The Black Cauldron. Rob really likes Passengers as well. I did not. If we're talking about the same one, if we're talking about the Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence one, that didn't work for me. Great cast, neat concept. To me, the movie was utterly profoundly predictable and didn't do much for me. But again, same thing as with Oblivion. I know a bunch of people that really do. Robert Meyer Burnett, as example, loves that movie as well, dude. So you are clearly not alone. A lot of goes. I'm glad somebody finally put Groundhog Day. Groundhog's not in my top 10, but that is an all-time classic movie, and I have not seen other people mention Groundhog Day yet, and I'm glad that you put that one in your list, Nick. I like that one a lot. Black Cauldron is also one that we haven't seen come up before, so good on you for that. All right, Chris Warden writes, I just watched a documentary about the making of the Super Mario Brothers movie. Man, what a debacle that production was. Hard to believe it got that out of hand. Chris, I am going to tell you this right now. Please email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Please email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com with where I can find that documentary. I would love to watch that because that sounds awesome in its awfulness. I would love to see that. So if you would do me that favor, Chris, I would be very appreciative because I would love to see that. And you know what, guys? I forgot to make an announcement off the top here. And I'll just take a short break here and let you guys know about something. Then we'll move on. We'll get to Nick's next question here. Speaking of getting in touch and everything, I'm going to let you know I made this announcement on my play-in chat the other night, but I'll mention it here now. You guys, other than the 100 or so people that were watching me, okay, Grant, it was about 500 or so people that were watching me play Warcraft the other night. You guys, other than that group, will now be the first people to hear this. Not a big thing, but I think a significant thing nonetheless. One of the things that you guys have been asking me to do for at least a year, that a lot of you guys have asked me to do, some of our fans even tried to get their own version of it started because I wasn't doing it. We are now going to do, and we're starting to get it ready, and we're getting into pieces of the puzzle together, but it's something simple. I just didn't see how I would have the time to do it, but now we're looking at it and we are doing it. We are getting a Discord server together. We are putting together a John Campea Show community Discord, where it'll be an open way for you guys to communicate with each other, with me. We're going to have different channels for people to talk about specific movies. We're going to have a channel to talk about Joker. We're going to have a channel to talk about It Chapter 2. We're going to have a channel to talk about the individual movies. There's going to be a channel just for your suggestions about things we can do for the John Campea Show or open mic or companion videos or player tests or any other ideas you have for the things. General areas where just you guys can keep in touch and communicate with each other. We're going to have different levels in there. Like our Patreon supporters are going to have their own gold standard level membership in there. We're going to have, we're going to appoint a couple of our viewers as moderators and all that kind of stuff. And just as a really great way to really develop the community. Because one of the things that I've really loved about doing the John Campea Show is that the community, you know what? I post the live stream right before I go to bed the night before. And it's amazing when I wake up and you see that even though it's like hours before the show starts, there are a lot of people who jump in there just so they can communicate and hang out together and like talk movies before the show even starts. It's always been amazing. And so I thought, I would listen to you guys. A lot of you guys have been asking me for this for at least a year. Let's actually create a place where we can do this and have it like really encourage the community building where we can all hang out and talk together all the time. And we're going to be launching that Discord server here within the next 2 weeks. We're going to be launching it. So you guys are, again, that's not a huge thing. A lot of people have Discord servers, but I have listened to you guys and we're going to be doing that. Anyway, just thought I'd share that with you guys since you're here with me on this Saturday. My Saturday's not done. Me and our friend Matt, Kaori, Ryan, Soul, we're all going to Disneyland tonight. So if you follow me on Instagram, keep your eyes open because I'm sure going to take more pictures of Galaxy's Edge and Disneyland tonight. So keep your eyes open for that. All right. Let's move on here. Nick writes, 404. Secret of my success. That's not one I hear brought up very often. James Bond, GoldenEye, John Wick, The Terminal. Yeah, see, The Terminal. That's the one Steven Spielberg film that I straight up don't like. It's the only Steven Spielberg film I straight up do not like. But a lot of you guys love it. A lot of you guys keep telling me you love that one. The Upside, nice. War Games, would you like to play a game? Short Circuit, Men in Black. I mean, that's some prime movies there, dude. That's some good movies. Again, The Terminal's the only one that I'll take some issue with. Just because I know a lot of the rest of you guys love it. Great cast, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Tom Hanks, directed by Steven Spielberg. I get it. Big pedigree there, but for me, it's the one Steven Spielberg movie who is my all-time favorite filmmaker. It's the one movie he's done that I just flat out don't like. But hey, like Nick just proved, a lot of you guys do. All right, Steve James writes, my top 10. Princess Bride. Good to see some Princess Bride representation there. Speaking of Princess Bride, Wesley from Princess Bride is going to be in the... did you catch that Black Mass trailer? He's going to be in that one, speaking of Princess Bride. Psycho, Wizard of Oz, Godfather, nice. Lord of the Rings, Groundhog Day, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Those aren't pillows. Shawshank, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Has been getting a lot of representation here. And Back to the Future trilogy. A lot of love for Back to the Future out there. A lot of people love their Back to the Future. It's good to see that in there. I love that you got Princess Bride. Here's again, you got movies like Lord of the Rings and Godfather. You got Shawshank Redemption and Back to the Future. I just love seeing this diversity that we have when we put these lists together. It's just again, I said it before, I'll say it again. It's such a testimony to the awesomeness of the art of filmmaking. When we can have such wildly different films, completely different from each other, even in the exact same lists. I love it. So thanks for sharing that, Steve. All right, Sam Phillip writes, have you ever played any of the Batman Arkham games? A little bit. Also, have a great weekend. I'll admit, I've watched more of the Arkham stuff like on YouTube than I've actually played it, to be honest with you. And I'll tell you what else. On my PS4 Pro, I did get one of the Arkham games. I've got one of them. I played about 2 minutes of it and then I stopped playing it. But I've been thinking about maybe I should give it another chance. Because a lot of people love those Arkham games, and you're not the first one, Sam, to ask me if I've ever played that one. But I've watched more of it than I've actually played. But maybe I should get back on that. Thanks for that, Sam. All right, Nick writes, sorry, I had to add to retract and edit 4 or 4 of my faves. I had changed my mind on a couple of them. Anywho, hope you're having a good weekend. Well, I'm having a great weekend. If I can just figure out here, what the hell are my New England Patriots thinking? What the hell are my New England Patriots thinking at this point? Getting Antonio the Clown Brown. I don't get it. I'd be having, I would be having such a great weekend if it wasn't for that. Had great UFCs, watched Khabib win, gonna go to Disneyland tonight. But now I gotta, for the rest of the day, just try to figure out what the hell is going on with New England. What the hell is going on with my Patriots? I don't get it. I just don't get it. Anyway, Ryan Lohner writes, Today's birthdays. Dario Argento is 79? Really? Julie Kavner, 69. Mira Furlan, 64. Alex Kurtzman, 46. Evan Rachel Wood is 32. I love Evan Rachel Wood. Alex Kurtzman, of course, running the new Star Trek universe, as it will. I actually like Alex Kurtzman. He was on a panel of mine once. I do the Masters of the Web panel every year, and one year Alex Kurtzman was on that panel, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, there you go. Thanks for the birthday updates, Ryan. All right. Nick writes, my God, now I'm editing. Oh, dude, don't worry. You don't have to write in again and explain little typos. Don't worry about it, Nick. You're good. All right. David Sickles writes, know you love Russell Crowe, so you seen my favorite Crowe film, The Insider. I haven't heard you mention it. Oh, dude, I've talked about that movie a lot. It's brilliant, in my top 10 of all time, 7 Oscar nominations, and didn't win one, by the way. Didn't win a single one. Not a lot of films will get that many nominations, which is a testament to just how good that movie is. The movie is wonderful, but it didn't win a single one. But here's the thing. That was the movie, and it came out 20 years ago. It starred Russell Crowe and Al Pacino. A lot of people at the time were not really familiar with Russell Crowe. I mean, I think he had done, what's that noir, that one noir? I'm freezing on the name of it. Why am I freezing on the name of it? L.A. Confidential. That's what it was. He did L.A. Confidential, but not a lot of people really knew Russell Crowe yet. And here came Russell Crowe, and he's in this movie with one of the all-time greats, Al Pacino. And he acted circles around Al Pacino. Now, if you were to ask somebody at the time, hey, this little movie coming out, The Insider, we got this guy, Russell Crowe, he's some actor, and we got Al Pacino, and one of those two guys is going to be nominated for Best Actor. Obviously, you would think it was going to be Al Pacino, but it wasn't. It was actually Russell Crowe. And that's the movie that, for a lot of people, put Russell Crowe on their radar. And if you have not seen The Insider that Dave is talking about, remarkable film. And it really was the sort of introduction party to the Hollywood as a whole for Russell Crowe. Anyway, nice one, David. I like your pick. Hannah Fanning writes, hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much, Hannah. My top 5 are, number 1, Tommy. Number 2, This Is Spinal Tap. It goes to 11. 3, Big Lebowski. 4, Interstellar. 5, what an eclectic collection of movies. This Is Spinal Tap and Big Lebowski and Interstellar all on the same list. That's fascinating. You know what? We often talk about the great spoof movies. When it comes to things like This Is Spinal Tap, and the guys from This Is Spinal Tap who have done other great Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, this collection of guys who have done a bunch of these types of comedies, I never do consider them spoofs, but they are spoof-ish, are they not? Are they not spoof-ish? I feel like they're spoof-ish. But I never can count them in those lists, but maybe I should. I'm not really 100% sure. Anyway, thanks for sharing your list, Hannah. Appreciate that. All right. ZMG Ruler writes, my top 10. Number 1, Chasing Amy. Love that movie. Probably my second favorite Kevin Smith film. Number 2, The Dark Knight. Number 3, Vertigo. Number 4, Fantasia. Number 5, Back to the Future. Part 2. Really, not Part 1? I'm not a huge fan of Part 2, I'll be honest. No, I mean, I like it. I'm just not nowhere near as big as the first one. Number 6, The Original Blues Brothers. Number 7, The Founder. That's a recent one with Michael Keaton. Number 8, The Empire Strikes Back. Number 9, Shrek 2. That is also my favorite Shrek film, by the way. Number 10, Lion King, which is my number 1 all-time favorite animated film of all time, is the 1994 version of Lion King. Love that one. Again, look at this. You got a list with The Blues Brothers and Fantasia on the same list. You got The Dark Knight and Chasing Amy on the same list. You got The Founder and Shrek 2 on the same list. Again, speaking to the testimony of just how awesome the art of filmmaking really is. That's an awesome list, ZOMG. Thanks for sharing it, dude. All right. Tom Weinberg writes, you tell him I'm coming and hell's coming with me. I see. Tombstone. Hell's Coming With Me. Just recently saw this for the first time and loved it. Yeah, and Hell's Coming With Me. At least I think that's Tombstone. I'm pretty sure that's Tombstone. I'm going to stick with Tombstone. Great movie. Awesome movie. I mean, honestly, I think that's probably one that does, even when we talk about Westerns, we don't really bring up Tombstone a lot. And probably that's a movie that probably deserves more attention than we give it. Anyway, like it. I like it. Now watch this. I totally got the wrong movie. Chris Feldman writes, as John Mulaney and Pete Davidson suggested on Saturday Night Live, I watched Eastwood's The Mule. And yes, Clint does have 2 threesomes in the movie. Comma. Is there something after that? I guess not. Sorry, just look with the comma there. It looks like there. Did Mulaney and Pete Davidson suggest that? I don't know what to think of Pete Davidson right now. I don't, like, there's a part of me that thinks he can be pretty funny. Oftentimes, I don't find him funny. John Mulaney, on the other hand, he has gone from a guy I never even heard of like 2 years ago to being one of my absolute favorite comedians. And if those of you who don't know his name, he's a tremendous stand-up comedian, but he also was the voice of Spider-Ham, Peter Porker, the amazing Spider-Ham in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Do you float through the air when you smell a delicious pie? That's John Mulaney. He is amazing and I love it. And it's good for you that you took their advice and watched The Mule, because The Mule is actually really quite. I mean, I was hoping for better. I'm not going to lie. I was hoping it would be a little bit better, but I did like it. It was a very solid movie. Let's see here. Patrick Conway writes, Top 10 Kung Fu Panda 2. Oh, top 10. Kung Fu Panda 2. I like Kung Fu Panda 2. Shrek 2. The Incredibles. Toy Story 3. John Wick. Captain America Winter Soldier. Guardians of the Galaxy. Lion King. Home Alone. And Endgame. A lot of comic book and animated movies in there. That's the thing. It's one of the genres that people love, man. Thanks for sharing the list, Patrick. Let's see. Jamie Sundays writes, thoughts on the Antonio Brown news? Well, Jamie, I think I went into that pretty much in depth off the top of the show. The dude's a clown. He's an absolute clown. Tremendously talented. Make no mistake about it. Tremendously talented dude. Might be the best wide receiver in the league. I think there are a couple other guys that would contend for that crown, but he could arguably be the best receiver in the league. But he's a clown. And I do not like this news at all. Don't like it at all. Anyway, Jamie Sunday also writes, what's your predictions for the NFL season? I have the Rams and Pats Super Bowl rematch. Browns are the biggest question mark this year. I don't think the Pats are going to the Super Bowl this year. They're my team. I love them, but I don't think this is their year. I think for the first time ever, Tom Brady is going to be a great quarterback again, but I think we're going to see him start, now that he's in his 40s, I think we're going to see him start to regress. They don't have Gronk in there anymore, who's such a key important part of their offense and their weapons. Yeah, I mean, you're right. The biggest question mark this year are the Browns. I'm telling you this right now. Browns could win 13 games. They could win 13 games. I'll say minimum they'll win 11. Minimum they win 11 games this year. They could win 13. I tell you, there's a lot going on there. But I mean, look, the Rams are going to be scary this year. The Chiefs are going to be scary this year. We're just going to have to wait. It's going to be a very, very fun year, but I don't think my Pats are going to be there this year. I don't think they're going to. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think they will be. Senior Film writes, first super chat. Oh, thanks for supporting the channel, Senior Film. I appreciate that, man. Been watching since the closet days at AMC. My question is, which directorial debut impressed you more, Jordan Peele or Olivia Wilde? Nice. Obviously, Jordan Peele with Get Out, Olivia Wilde with Booksmart. I got to go Olivia Wilde. Now, don't misinterpret that as saying, I didn't think Jordan Peele's. No, Jordan Peele's Get Out for directorial debut was wonderful. Wonderful film. I really enjoyed it. But to me, right now, and this could change by the end of the year, but right now, Booksmart to me is still the best movie of the year. It's the best movie of the year. I never thought Get Out was the best movie of the year. Booksmart, I think, is the best movie of the year. So I got to say, while I am hyper impressed with both of those outings as a directorial debut for both Jordan Peele and Olivia Wilde, I got to give the nod to Olivia Wilde on that one, because I think Booksmart was the better film. But that's just me. Let's see. Curtis Lopez writes, one of two. I saw a re-release of The Little Mermaid at AMC. Nice. Always adored the movie, but watching it on the big screen was like watching it for the first time. Gained a higher appreciation for the movie. That's one of the things, Curtis, that I really, really love about older movies coming back to theaters, because you get that opportunity to not just see the movie again, but see it the way it's meant to be seen, right? To see it on the big screen again. That's the way movies were meant to be watched. And when we can take some of these older movies that we've loved and then put them back on a big screen and see them in a way that they were meant to be seen, that we maybe haven't had a chance to see them for that way in years, dude, that's something special. That's something special, and that's something awesome. And I'm glad you had the chance to do that, dude, because I totally agree with you. All right. Adam Douglas writes in, looked into tickets for the NFL games at AMC to try the experience. Fine print. At participating theaters only. Local teams excluded. I love NFL, but I want to see my team on the big screen. That is a difficult. Now, I didn't think it was local teams. I thought it was just local games. Now, I could be wrong about that, Adam, but I would say look at that again, because I was reading through it and I thought it was just like, for instance, if the Rams are playing in LA, they can't show you that game in LA. That's an NFL rule. That's not an AMC thing. That's an NFL rule. But I don't think, again, I'll have to double check, because maybe you're right, maybe I'm right. But I thought it was local games, not local teams. So, like, theoretically speaking, if I'm right, and I could be wrong, I'll have to look into it again. But if I'm right, then if the Rams are, say, playing the Browns in Cleveland, that should be a game that they should be able to show, I think. Now, for me, my team is the Patriots, so it doesn't affect me whatsoever in any way, shape, or form, because my team's the Patriots. But because I don't live in New England, so I can watch their games. But that is the one tricky thing. Because, for example, I looked up the game tomorrow being played at the AMC Theater at the AMC Burbank 16 where I live, and it's like, it might be KC versus Baltimore. No, Kansas City versus Jacksonville, I think, is the game. And hey, Kansas City's a very entertaining team to watch, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not excited about that game. And that's the problem with this AMC thing. It's great if it's a game I'm really interested in. It doesn't have to be the Patriots, but like you got like Steelers versus Seahawks. Oh man, I'm there. You got Rams versus the Saints. I'm there. You got the Patriots versus anybody. I'm there. But I'm not going to be down for every single game. And if the one game they're showing isn't a game I'm interested in, then I'm just going to stay home and watch football at home. So it's going to be interesting to see how they work out. But I would say double check into that, because that'll be interesting. If they won't even show local teams, even if they're not playing in the local market, that's odd. That's odd. Because look, television blackouts have always been a part of sports going back a long time. Like I remember I would used to watch, Hamilton Ticat games, but they wouldn't show Hamilton Ticat home games in Hamilton. You couldn't watch it on TV in Hamilton. Because if you were going to watch the game, they wanted you to go to the stadium, buy a ticket, and watch the game there. But when Hamilton was playing on the road, then they would show the games on television in Hamilton. So I'd be interested to know the fine print. Is it no local teams or just no local games? I'd be curious to know what that is. Anyway, David Tapia writes, who picks up AB now after Raiders cut him? Well, apparently the only team dumb enough in the NFL to do it is the New England Patriots, ladies and gentlemen. Only team in the NFL dumb enough to do it. The New England Patriots. Now, granted, at least they were smart enough to only make it a one-year deal. According to the report, New England is giving Antonio Brown a one-year deal worth up to $15 million with a $9 million signing bonus. His agent, so yeah, I wouldn't give this guy a penny. I wouldn't give him a penny. I would say, I'll pay you X number of dollars, but none of it's guaranteed. Because the moment you act like a jackass, you're out. I wouldn't give him $1 of guaranteed money. But apparently the New England Patriots, the only team stupid enough in the NFL to sign this guy. And I'll be cheering for him. He's on the Patriots now, so I'll be cheering for him to succeed. I hope he succeeds. but I don't think he makes it 4 games. I think he's going to try to do things his own way once. Darth Belichick is going to shoot the Force lightning out of his fingers and say, get in line. Then he's going to go and cry on social media. Guys, the New England Patriots don't realize that I'm so good. I shouldn't have to follow the rules. I want out of New England. I guarantee you within 4 weeks, he's going to be begging to get out of New England. I hope I'm wrong. But I don't think that I am. I hope I am, but I don't think I am. We'll see. I mean, look, the sort of same thing, wasn't a bad situation. The sort of same thing happened before with Randy Moss, right? Randy Moss was like considered by a lot of people like a lost cause, great talent, lost cause. What happened? He came into New England under Darth Belichick and he learned to play a disciplined game and he started breaking records. And now when Randy Moss talks about the New England Patriots, he said that was the best thing that ever happened to him. Maybe the same thing can happen with Antonio the Clown Brown. Maybe the same thing can happen with Antonio Brown that happened with Randy Moss. I doubt it. I still think he's going to be whining and crying and throwing temper tantrums and stamping his feet and complaining about his helmet and oh, my foot and I shouldn't have to go to practices. I'm Antonio Brown. I think, and then Darth Belichick is going to, do what his thing and then he's going to cry and want to get out of town. I hope I'm wrong. Quadruple finger cross. I hope I'm wrong. But anyway. You can tell I'm really upset about this. Adam Douglas writes, I 100% get that it's a TV rights issue. It's why things like NFL Sunday Ticket blocks out local teams. It's just a bummer. I was hoping it be different. Again, though, I think there's a massive difference here. I mean, look, I get it because, it's not an AMC problem. If it's just local games, like games not played in LA, we can't show them here. NFL rule, I get it. Fine. But if you're right and it's local teams can't be showed, that to me makes no sense. I would have to seriously question why is that a rule? If that's the case, I would have to seriously question that. So I'd like to know what the fine details on that are. Okay. Colby Harris writes, I know Joaquin Phoenix is a great actor, but if River Phoenix was still alive, who would you say is the better actor? Joaquin Phoenix, easy. Look, it's number one, it's an impossible thing to answer. Because we don't know, would River Phoenix had gotten better as an actor? Maybe, maybe not. Not everybody who acts when they're younger gets better as they get older. We've seen many instances where they don't. So it's really hard to say. All I know is that Joaquin is one of the best actors in the world. So the likelihood that River would have been as good or better is pretty low. Not impossible, but pretty low. So I'm going to have to say, no, it would probably still be Joaquin because Joaquin is way better as an actor right now than River Phoenix ever was when he was still alive. And he was a fine little actor for when don't get me wrong. But he wasn't as good as Joaquin Phoenix. And just because somebody has a certain level of talent at one age doesn't necessarily mean they'll get better. So it's impossible to say, but I'm going to say I'm doubtful. I'm doubtful about that. All right. Jonathan Sotelo writes, have you heard of the Indian version of It? I have certainly not. It came out in 1998. Pennywise has a mom, and he is a ghost that comes out every 15 years instead of 27. It's on YouTube. The whole series is in Hindi, no subtitles. Well, I'm not quite sure how I would be able to watch that. As somebody who does not understand Hindi. So it's interesting that it's there, but that's not something I would ever even be able to watch, especially if it doesn't have subtitles. I just would never have the chance to watch it. Interesting that it's there, but clearly I've never watched it, and clearly I'll never be able to watch it as long as it's in a foreign language I don't understand and there's no subtitles. It makes it a little bit tricky. Just a little bit tricky. All right. Colby, doesn't mean it's not good. It just means I can't watch it. All right. Colby Harris writes, top 10. Spider-Man 2, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Civil War, Endgame, Dark Knight, Princess Bride, Deadpool, X-Men 1, and Thor 1. Very one-sided list, basically mostly all comic book movies and genre films, but we love what we love, and you peppered in there a little bit of Princess Bride there too, and I like that you got Thor 1 on there. You know me. I think Thor 1 is the second most underrated comic book movie of all time. I think the most underrated comic book movie of all time is Man of Steel. But the second, I believe, most underrated comic book film of all time is Thor 1. So it warms my heart, Colby, that you got it on your list. So I'm glad you got it there. All right, Ben Rayner writes, John, I'm like you. I love tech. Me too. And I just got some smart bulbs. I got a couple smart bulbs too. I like them. I'm having a blast with them. Do you have any? I do. They're fun to use your phone with. I actually have my bulbs connected into and through. I have 3 Google Homes and 1 Alexa, 1 Amazon Echo. That is just known as Alexa. And I have all those bulbs and stuff like that wired in to my home hubs. So when I go into my bedroom, I just go, Alexa, turn on the light. And it turns on the light in my room. And then I go to bed, and it's like I can be in bed. And Ann and I, true story, Ann and I used to argue because, we go to bed, we get ready for bed, the lights on the bedroom, we lay down. And the light switch to our bedroom is over by the door coming into our room. And we just go, okay, it's your turn to get up and go turn off the light. No, you get up and go turn off the light, right? So it was that nightly argument that motivated me to get this smart light. So now we're just both laying in bed, and when we're ready for lights to go out, I just go, Alexa, turn out the light. And the light turns off. I love it. I love these things. I have a lot of fun with them. All right. And I hope you have a good time with them too, Ben. Alexis Ruiz writes, hey, John, you saw the trailer of Dave Bautista in the Gears of War video game as a playing character. Do you think that will open the door for him being in a movie of Gears of War? By the way, love you. No, I haven't. I haven't even heard of that. I haven't heard of that. Well, let's put it this way. They did Dirty Laundry, and they never did bring back Thomas Jane. They never did bring back Thomas Jane to play Punisher, even though he did Dirty Laundry. Nathan Fillion is in the Uncharted little fan-made thing they did, but that doesn't mean they got him for Uncharted. To be honest here, I don't even know what it is we're talking about, because I have not seen this thing. I didn't know there was a Dave Bautista in the Gears of War video game trailer. I have no idea. But do I think that would open the door for him being in the movie? No. I don't think it hurts his chances. I don't think it makes it a reality. So I don't know that it would have much influence. I mean, any intelligent film executive won't look at some short film and go, oh, we got to have that guy in it because he was in the short thing they did. So I don't think it'll help his cause. I don't think it'll hurt his cause. But again, I'm speaking kind of in the dark here because I've never even seen it. So can't really speak to it with a lot of authority there. Mighty Tank writes, John, important question. Are all Canadian kids good? If they're true Canadians, they are. All good Canadian kids, even the bad ones, are good Canadian kids. Artur Mansouri, that was the probably most important question we'll be asked all week, Mighty Tank. Artur Mansouri writes, John, I went to see It Chapter 2 at AMC 16, couldn't find parking, left, called AMC, they wouldn't refund me the money after showtime had started, stupid policy. Look, man, I'm going to be honest with you. That's on you. That's on you. There are a lot of big public parking lots around the AMC Burbank 16. There's one connected to it, and that can get full. But within 2 blocks, there's this big 4-story parking structure for a mall that's always 3/4 empty, and it's only like 2 blocks over. And I'll be honest with you, man, when I'm going to a movie and it's a place that I'm not real familiar with, I'm not going to lie to you. I get on Google Maps before I go, and if I'm driving, if I'm not taking an Uber, if I'm driving, I open up Google Maps and I just type in, public parking. And it shows me where all the public parking around the theater is. That's up to me. That's my responsibility to know how I'm getting there, when I'm getting there. And I'll just be frank. I mean, that sucks, Artur, that you had that situation. That sucks that you had that situation. It does. Totally sucks. But you finding parking, that's on you. right? That's on you. And if you didn't do your research before going, say, okay, if I can't find parking here, if I can't find parking in the primary lot, where do I go and park? I always know my 3 parking options before I leave. And like I said, just 2 blocks over from the AMC Burbank 16 is a giant mall parking structure that is always 3/4 empty, that you could have easily parked at. The thing is, you know, if you're coming to a thing that I'm putting on, you couldn't find parking is not my issue. You know, because here's the position that AMC is in, or whatever theater chain is you're going to. This is the position they're in. Well, you bought the ticket, which meant we couldn't sell it to somebody else, right? We couldn't sell it to somebody else because you bought the ticket. It's yours. We can't sell it now. And if you don't show up, then we lose that money, because if you hadn't bought that ticket, we could have sold it. Somebody else could have bought it. And if you don't show up because you didn't do your research in advance to figure out where you're going to park, again, when I'm going somewhere, whether it's the movies or anything, first thing I do, I look up the address on Google Maps and then I search parking. And I find out exactly what's my option A, what's my option B, what's my option C. I always know what my parking options are. And if there's not good parking, then I jump in an Uber and I take an Uber there. There have been a lot of times I'm just gone, I don't feel like hunting around for parking. I'll just take an Uber. Like whenever I gotta go to downtown LA, there's parking in downtown LA, but I find parking in downtown LA to be a bit of a nightmare. So I just take an Uber down whenever I go. You know, saves me the hassle, saves me some gas money, whatever. Now, listen, man, a lot of movie theaters have some very questionable policies. Absolutely they do. But you not showing up for a movie that you bought a ticket for because you didn't do the field work, the legwork to make sure you knew where you could park before you came, I don't see how that becomes the movie theater's problem. How's that their problem? You know? My movie going loving brother Artur, I sympathize. That's a sucky situation, but it's not the movie theater's responsibility to figure out your parking for you before you come down. Again, it sucks as a situation. Sucks as a situation, but it's the onus and the responsibility for knowing how you're going to get to the theater is on you. It's not the movie theater's responsibility. And if you can't show up for your showtime, well, that's on you. It's like the same thing of, I bought my movie ticket and I like say, me and my wife, we've got a kid, and me and my wife plan on going to go see the movie. And just 5 minutes before the movie started, our babysitter canceled on us. And now it's like 5 minutes after showtime started and our babysitter canceled on us. That's not the movie theater's responsibility. It's not on them to refund you your money. That's on you. It's and how you get to the theater and where you're going to park. I sympathize, brother. I do. That sucks. But it's not the theater's fault. And so why should the theater be the one to pay for it? I guess that's the kind of the way I see it. And again, a lot of policies that movie theaters have today are pretty damn stupid. But I got to say, my brother, on that one, it pains me to say it, but I got to say, I think I understand where the theater's coming from on this. Why should they be the one to pay for the fact that you faced an unfortunate situation? I just got to agree with them. It sucks, but I got to agree with them. Sorry about that, dude. All right. Chris Feldman writes, if anyone gives you 10,000 to 1 on anything, you take it. If John Mellencamp ever wins an Oscar, I'm going to be a very rich man. Oh, I don't know what that's from. If anyone gives you 10,000 to 1 on anything, you take it. Hold on a second. I gotta look this up. Give me 1 second. If anyone gives you 10,000 to 1 odds, okay. Google is recognizing it. What's it from? Oh, it's Kevin from The Office. I knew it sounded familiar. If anyone gives you 10,000 to 1 odds, you take that bet. If John Mellencamp ever wins an Oscar, I will be one rich dude. But it's true. If anybody ever gives you 10,000 to 1 odds, you take those odds. That's an over-under you take every single day, Chris. Anyway, thanks for sharing, dude. I should have got that one. Okay, BW Rosa writes, did you hear about Hasbro Studios being hacked into? I did not. I live with somebody from Hasbro Studios, and I didn't even know that. So, no, I'm going to have to look into that, BW. Let's see. SC writes, top 10. 10, 3 in top 10, 10, 3 in no order. Inception, Alien, Aliens, Donnie Brasco. I like Donnie Brasco. Underrated. I think Donnie Brasco is a great movie. I'm glad you mentioned it. Exorcist, The Thing, Infinity War / Endgame, Die Hard, Terminator, Dark Knight Trilogy, and Terminator 2. Terminator 2. You know, here's the thing, SC. A lot of people talking about are still uncomfortable. I'm still hearing from a lot of people who are uncomfortable that Terminator, this new Terminator movie, is ignoring all the other Terminator stuff except for Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. I actually think it's a good move. I do. There's just too much, especially after Genesis and all that kind of stuff. There's just too much baggage. There's too much baggage that they shouldn't have to worry about or deal with at this point. Yeah, so I dig it. So it's good to see that on your list. You do have the first Terminator in there as well. I love the first Terminator. It's been a long time. It's been a few years since I've seen that first Terminator movie, dude. Been a long time since I've seen it. And again, it's nice to see Donnie. I think that's the first time I've seen Donnie Brasco pop up on the list. Very, very good movie. I enjoyed that one a lot. All right. Thanks for that, SC. All right. JB Bonifacio writes, Joker just won the Venice Film Festival. Yes, it did. Top prize winners of previous years were Roma, The Shape of Water, and Brokeback Mountain. Holy Oscars, Batman. Yep. Listen, I told everybody, this is the thing. I told everybody a year ago at Comic-Con when the news broke about this, I told everybody, dude, this could be an Oscar film. And everybody laughed at me. Because everybody was saying, oh, it's so stupid. It's not going to be the DCU. It's going to be stupid then. You can't do a Joker movie without Batman. It's going to be stupid. And everybody laughed at it. And today, everybody forgets that. Everybody today acts as if, oh, we always knew this movie was a great idea and it was going to be wonderful. Everybody acts like they always knew it was a great idea. I remember. The North remembers. Because back when that happened, the majority of the online scuttlebutt was, this is stupid. Why? It's going to confuse people. Oh, good. Yet another Joker. You can't, it's going to be outside the DCU. What's the point? Blah, blah. All that was the dominant force. And now everybody today is asking like they knew it the whole time. It reminds me of like when Heath Ledger played Joker. Oh, yeah. When he won his Oscar, everybody said, oh, we always knew that was a brilliant thing. Shut up. You did not. I remember everybody whining and complaining. Why are you getting the guy from Brokeback to play Joker? This is going to be stupid and blah, blah, blah. And that was everybody. I was skeptical about it too, by the way. I was one of the guys who was skeptical about it. You know, everybody acts like, oh, Hugh Jackman obviously was a great pick for Wolverine. Nobody thought that when they cast Hugh Jackman. Nobody thought that. And then all these fake DC bandwagon fanboys, when Ben Affleck turned out to be a great Batman. It's like, see, we always knew he would be a great Batman. Shut up. Y'all were mocking and laughing when Ben Affleck putting out those memes with everybody laughing in an office saying, and then they told us, we don't need you. We're going to have Ben Affleck as Batman. And everybody acted like they knew all the time, right? But I remember. You know? It's like everybody acting like they knew Aquaman was going to make $1 billion. Nobody thought, me especially, nobody thought Aquaman was going to make $1 billion. Nobody honestly thought it was going to make $1 billion. But everybody acting like, oh, we knew it would all the time. Once it happened, then everybody knew it, right? I'm the only guy out here who I will still admit, hell, I didn't think Aquaman was going to make $800 million. I didn't think it would even make $800 million. I said, no way. I said, Aquaman will be a hit. Aquaman will be a success. It's going to make money and it's going to be a hit. But I said, no way. No way, I said. Will it make $800 million? I insisted it wasn't going to make $800 million. Don't even talk to me about $1 billion. Pshaw. I said it's going to be a hit. It's going to be successful. It's going to be good, but it ain't going to make $800 million. No way. And you know how many people said they disagreed with me at the time? None. But then Aquaman blew by my prediction of $800 million, blew by that, and crossed $1 billion mark. And then all of a sudden, everybody's acting like, oh, we all knew it was going to make $1 billion. Shut up. Nobody thought that. I was just very vocal about it. And I'll be the one to stand up right now today and still admit, yep, I got that one wrong. Way wrong. But there's a lot of rewriting history going on today with, and it's not just today, it's been the last little while, with the Joker winning the Something Lion Award. I can't remember what the name of the actual award is at the Venice Film Festival, for basically winning Best Film of the Festival. And it's huge. It's huge. I mean, we could very well be seeing, get this, we could have now literally, legitimately, 2 years in a row. And by the way, winning that award does not guarantee it'll get a Best Picture nomination at the Academy Awards. Let's be clear about that. It doesn't guarantee it. But we could be looking at a situation where we have 2 years in a row that a comic book based film could win Best Picture or could be nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. 2 years in a row. And unlike last year where I didn't think Black Panther deserved a nomination, this will actually be one that I think will deserve a nomination, even though I haven't seen it yet. I gotta be careful. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't say that. But I've been predicting it would be good enough, but I haven't seen it yet. For all I know, I'm going to hate this movie. We'll have to wait and see. But we could be looking at 2 years in a row that a comic book-based movie gets nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. How crazy is that? How awesome, yet how crazy is that? It's pretty interesting times we live in, JB. Anyway, QMT54 writes, hey, John, have you seen Destination Wedding with Keanu Reeves? We were actually talking about this very movie probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We were talking about Destination Wedding with Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder. Cute movie, your thoughts? I thought it was a very cute movie. The chemistry that they've always had, and then they told a story. I remember in some of the marketing for the film, they were doing an interview where they talked about they actually were worried that because of a way they did something, they thought they might actually be married. But anyway, this is some weird thing, but I thought it was an adorable film. Let's see here. Jay Bling writes, when you mistook Ang Lee for John Woo as the director of Gemini, well, I didn't mistake one. I just misspoke that. I did, because I caught myself later after Rob was talking. Anyway, when you mistook Ang Lee for John Woo as the director of Gemini Man, I realized it looked like the kind of Hollywood action film Woo would do. It does kind of look like a film John Woo would do, doesn't it? So I do get the confusion. I bet Woo would have called it the spiritual sequel to Face Off. And it does have a little bit of face-off-isms to it, doesn't it? By the way, I just love that movie, Face Off. Ugh. I feel like quoting that movie every time somebody brings him up. But listen, Gemini Man is a movie that I think is really getting overlooked right now. Frankly, I think it looks really good. And when you have a guy like... when you have the talent assembled in front of and behind the camera for this movie, right? And hold on a second. I forget the name of the guy who was the cinematographer. Hold on a second. Oops, I misspelled it. That's why. It's crazy how that happens. So where the hell is my cinematographer? Where's my crew list? I can't find it. Okay, I'm not going to waste so much time. Anyway, I think this movie looks really good. I think you got dynamic people involved behind the camera, a great cast, including Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who I love, in front of the camera, with Big Willie, with Will Smith, who's on a rush right now. I think this movie's being overlooked. And I think this is the one that I think could really surprise a lot of people. Could be horrible, but I think it's one that could end up surprising a lot of people, actually. Anyway, thanks for bringing that up, Jay Bling. All right, Samuel May sends in a really big super chat. Thank you, Samuel, for supporting the channel on that level, man. All right. Samuel Ray writes, my top 10 movies in no specific order. 10, John Wick. 9, The Avengers Infinity War. 8, Snatch. I love Snatch. 7, In Bruges. Love that in 1 and 2. 6, Wind River. Massively overlooked at the Academy Awards the other year. 5, Inception. 4, Empire Strikes Back. 3, Pulp Fiction. 2, The Departed. I love The Departed. Number 1, Shawshank Redemption. Thank you. Great, solid list, man. Nice mix. A couple of comic book movies in there. A classic or two. Some modern masterpieces. That's a nice list in there. And you don't see a lot of Snatch in there. The director of the new Aladdin film also directed Snatch. Brad Pitt is so good in that. Jason Statham. I love that movie. The movie Snatch is so freaking good. If you guys haven't seen Snatch, you've got to watch it. It is one of my all-time favorite films. You bunker down, take Samuel's advice here, watch that damn movie, and it does my heart good to see you put Shawshank Redemption at number 1. I love that one too. Nice mix of movies there, Samuel. I like it. All right. Django 19 writes, with all the clown movies coming out, It 2 and Joker, over under Antonio Brown gets his own clown movie. But seriously, what the fuck is wrong with that dude? I mean, I don't know. That is a dude that Antonio Brown is all about Antonio Brown. And that just seems to be about it. Antonio Brown is all about Antonio Brown. Antonio the Clown Brown. And for some reason, the only team stupid enough to pick him up is the New England Patriots. Sigh. I'm telling you, 4 weeks he'll be begging to get out of there. Because Belichick he doesn't take crap from anybody. He'll say, oh, okay, yeah, you think you're good? Sit down over there and don't move for 4 weeks. That's what he's going to do. And then Brown will go, they're making me do things. And then he'll be begging to get out. You watch. Hope I'm wrong. Maybe Belichick can use some of his dark force magic to get into his head and make him actually be a team player. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Chris Feldman writes, if you haven't seen it, I recommend Too Funny to Fail, a Hulu documentary of how Dana Carvey, Steve Carell, Stephen Colbert, Louis C.K., and Robert Smigel created the Dana Carvey Show and bombed. I'll tell you what, Chris, I think this is the second time I'm asking you to do this. I have not heard of this, but that sounds absolutely fascinating to me. That sounds utterly fascinating to me. Can you please get together, give me a link to where I can find that, or even a link just to some information about it, and send it to me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Once we have our Discord server up and running, you could leave me some information there. But for now, can you email that to me to john@thejohncampeashow? Because that sounds hilarious. I've got to see that. That sounds amazing. All right, just a couple more questions here, guys, and then we're going to take a short break. Daryl Best Wadley writes, have you seen Dave Chappelle's new special? It's great. No, we've talked about that a bunch. I actually sat down to watch it about a week ago. It might have been a little over a week ago now. I sat down to watch it, and as I was going through Netflix to get to it, I came across that sci-fi movie with Hilary Swank called I Am Mother. And I went, oh, I've heard a few people say this is really good. And then I ended up watching that instead. And it's a nice little sci-fi movie, by the way. It's not great, but it's a nice little sci-fi movie. I enjoyed it. But I still haven't gotten around to seeing Dave Chappelle's new special, though. So I've heard a couple people say they really like it. Heard a couple people say it was all right, but I'm anxious to see it myself. Aiden Foley writes, came out of seeing It Chapter 2. Man, what a mess that was. Yeah, I didn't hate it, but it was a mess. A mess with some good stuff in it. There's some good stuff in there. I thought Bill Hader was really good in it. I mean, a number of the casts were really solid, but Jessica Chastain is always gold, but it was a mess of a movie. It easily should have been a half hour, 40 minutes shorter. I don't know. It just let me down, man. It let me down. All right. Adam Martinez writes, Joker has been awarded the Golden Lion. That's what I knew it was a lion something. Yeah, the Golden Lion. Joker's been awarded the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival, which is amazing. I still haven't seen it. I'm not going to see it until opening night. I'm going to go watch it opening night. And I'm very excited about it. I'm going to go see it October 3rd. Super stoked. And maybe we could get 2 years in a row where a comic book related film gets nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. So excited about that. So excited about that. All right. Aiden Foley writes, not a great year for horror. Not really. Yeah, it really hasn't been yet. Not a great year for horror for you, I guess, with Pet Sematary, Brightburn, which you liked. Actually, I'm glad you liked it. I was hoping to love it because, James Gunn is connected to it. I love James Gunn, but it just didn't work for me, unfortunately. And it Chapter 2, oh well. And I actually didn't think Midsommar was all that great either. I know some people love it, which is awesome. Which is really too bad because the last couple of years we've been some great years for horror. And I just feel like this year has not lived up to it. And I didn't even like Us all that much. Jordan Peele's follow-up to Get Out. I didn't think Us was all that great. I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I liked it. I did. I didn't like it, but I liked Us. But I also felt it was kind of a significant step down from Get Out. But hey, you have strong years, you have some weak years. Maybe next year will be better. All right, Amir B writes, Joker hype is going up. Venice win is impressive. It's more than impressive. It's unheard of. Never has a comic-related film won one of the prestigious film festivals. It's never happened before. And now it could get nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture, which would make it 2 years in a row. And how great would it be if we have, not only do we have 2 years in a row where a comic book film gets nominated for Best Picture, but 1 year is a Marvel film, 1 year is a DC film. I think that's awesome. We're living in an era right now where we could have 2 comic book films back to back, one Marvel, one DC. We've got James Gunn making a DC film and a Marvel film. We've got a lot of actors now crossing over and doing and we are just, I think, from the top and hopefully starts to dribble down, to trickle down, this idea of comic book films, not Marvel films, not DC films, comic book films, and we can all celebrate them and, like or dislike them based on their own merits, not whether or not they're Marvel films or DC films. Anyway, it'd be kind of cool if that happens. Let's see. Jamie Sunday's right. Yo, what the fuck? Antonio Brown to the Pats. Yep. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me, Jamie. Thanks for reminding me. J Meister 25 writes, Return of the Jedi would have been near perfect if the Ewoks were Wookiees. Oh, I think I love them just the way they are. First of all, Return of the Jedi is near perfect. It's the best Star Wars movie there's ever made. It's one of the greatest motion pictures of all time. And part of it is because of the Wookiees, or the Ewoks, I should say. The Ewoks are awesome. As it says in my video, my classic video that I made so many years ago, F you, I love the Ewoks. That's actually the name of my video that I made like 10 years ago or 7 years ago. And I make my case about why the Ewoks are one of the most brilliant things that they ever put into a Star Wars movie. They are so misunderstood and so misrepresented. The role they actually play in that movie, I think is awesome. Now, for those of you who don't know what J Meister is talking about, he's referencing the fact that there was a point in time when instead of Ewoks, that was going to be like Kashyyyk, and it was going to be Wookiees that were fighting alongside them. But I love the fact that they really went for this whole juxtaposition of the technological world versus the natural world. The Wookiees are very advanced technologically, so that doesn't really work when you're setting up that sort of a juxtaposition, right? You got to go something more natural, and something like the Ewoks, tribal creatures, I think really drove that home a lot more. So for me, Jay Meister, and your point of view is no better or worse than mine, I'm just saying for me, the Ewoks are part of the brilliance of Return of the Jedi. These savage little flesh-eating monsters who will capture you, burn you alive. They won't even kill you first. They will cook you alive over an open fire and listen to the music of your screams in the night sky. And then they will consume your flesh and then cut off your heads and use your severed heads as celebration bongo drums in their parties later that night. The Ewoks are not to be messed with. Anyway, S. Beam writes, the beacons are lit. Gondor calls for aid. One of the greatest lines ever in the history of cinema from Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Man, I get weepy-eyed, S. Beam, whenever I even think about that damn line. The beacons are lit. Gondor calls for aid. And Rohan shall answer. Greatest line. And Rohan shall answer. Theoden. Anyway, Joshua Howard writes, If they decided to recast the Punisher for whatever dumb reason, but if they do, is it possible to see Thomas Jane return to the role, or is that just a no? I would say this. First of all, they're going to recast. They have to, because the John Bernthal Punisher is now done. They're going to reboot Punisher, so that's fine. So you're not going to see John Bernthal back. Be kind of awesome if they did, but we're just not going to. It'd be great if they did, though. So could they go back to Thomas Jane? They could. It's theoretically possible. But here's the problem. If you're Disney and you're Marvel and you're restarting this character by recasting an old former guy in the role, you are bringing then along inadvertently all the baggage that goes along with that initial movie. And that first Punisher movie is not very good. I liked Thomas Jane in the role very much, but the movie overall was not very good. Punisher Warzone I thought was a better movie, but that's just me. So if you bring along Thomas Jane, you are bringing along all, whether on purpose or inadvertently, you are bringing along all the baggage of that bad movie. And so is it possible they could go back to a Thomas Jane? Yeah, they could. That's within the scope of possibility. But I think it's incredibly unlikely, because you'd want to start fresh and not bring along the baggage of a failed film, right? So I think that would be the big deterrent there. I think they're just going to recast it, get a brand new guy, start fresh with their own version of it, no baggage, just a clean page, a clean slate, and that's probably the best way for them to go about it. We'll see what happens, though. All right. Suthius writes, hey, Mr. C, finished Woo Assassins. I'm thinking about getting into that. I'm not sure, though, because I'm hearing a little bit of mixed things about it. Anyway, meh, says Suthius. First episode was very promising. My biggest negative, Eko Was is a lead English-speaking serious role. I couldn't understand him. Much of the range of the emotions was lacking. That's a different thing. That's unfortunate to hear. It is one of the things that I talk about sometimes about, can you put... I remember when Logan came out and everybody wanted an X-23 movie. And I said, that with Daphne Keane, who was great in Logan, but I didn't know that she could carry. She was great in the supporting role. I wasn't convinced that she could carry the burden of being the lead of a film. Yet. I wasn't convinced of that. I loved her in Logan, but I didn't know that she could carry the lead of a film. And, maybe that's what's coming to play here. Now, I can't really speak to it, authoritatively here, Suthius, because I haven't seen it myself. I haven't seen Woo Assassins yet. But it does sound like something I would be afraid of. So it's interesting that you have that point of view on it. Thanks for sharing that, dude. All right, Suthius follows up and writes, poor Thanos was in his home cooking, minding his own business, when a group of thugs came barging in and started some stuff, cutting off his arm and head. Well, to be fair, you're leaving out the part where he murdered billions of people right before that. So let's not pretend that poor Thanos was just, hey, dude, I'm just minding my own business. After you killed, 35 trillion beings across the galaxy, then you were sitting around just minding your own business. After murdering trillions. Yeah, it's a little bit of a different thing. But yeah, that was probably not the way he was imagining. Thanos probably wasn't envisioning a home invasion being the way his day would start. Probably wasn't thinking a home invasion would be the way his day would start. Probably wasn't. All right. Let's see. Fuzzy FJ sends a really large super chat. Thank you, Fuzzy, for supporting the channel on that level, man. I really appreciate it, dude. Let's see. Fuzzy writes, hey, John, happy Saturday. It would be happier if the New England Patriots didn't sign Antonio the Clown. Anyway. It's actually Sunday in Australia right now. You guys got a big UFC coming there next month. You guys got a big UFC middleweight title fight coming there next month at Marvel Stadium. Anyway, been watching your show for over a year now. Thank you so much, and never missed one since then. Such an inspirational and positive place to be. Thank you, man. Oh, dude, thank you so much, man. That means a lot. It's always really special and nice when somebody just wants to write in just for the exclusive purpose of to say something nice. Seriously, dude, that's very generous of you. thank you for that. I appreciate that. And believe me when I say, thank you for being with the show for over a year. You know, it's easy for people to forget. When I left my last job, I didn't know this was going to work. I didn't know. I had no idea. Can you imagine the conversation I had to have with my wife? It's like, honey, I think I'm going to quit my corporate regular paycheck paying gig and stay at home and just make YouTube videos at home myself. I mean, that's, you don't know that's going to work. I had no idea. You know, start with like 20,000 views in a month. Okay. But here we are. Here we are over 2 years later now. That's wild. We've been doing this for over 2 years now. 2 years later, we're still going because of the support of you guys, both watching the show, participating, being Patreon supporters, sending in super chats, all that kind of stuff. We've got 5 staff people as well. On top of that, we get about 4 million views a month. I never thought we'd get to this point. I just wanted to be able to do this and help pay for the bills. That's all. I just wanted to contribute a little bit for the bills. And I still remember, I went out and I had dinner with Jeremy Johns. And I was telling him my plan. You know, I'm going to go at it on my own. And I'm just hoping, I'm not kidding, this is 1,000% true. I'm just hoping I can make like $200 a month. I'm hoping I can get enough views that we make like $200 a month so I can at least contribute to some of the household bills. But because of you guys and the support, we've been able to do this a lot more dedicatedly, a lot more full time. We've got, Rob and Aaron and Chris and Ray and Jonathan and all that kind of stuff. And it's all because of you guys creating a community here that I look forward to coming into every day to be a part of, and that a lot of you guys keep coming back to be a part of as well. And talking movies and encouraging the better parts of what it means to be a film fan, to just love film and whatever, and about the things that inspire us about film, about those things. It's continues to be an amazing thing to me, Fuzzy, that there are so many people out there like yourself who are committed to this community as much as I am. And that's amazing. And a content creator could not ask for any better. No content creator could ask for anything better than the people who form the community of watching all these movies together and talking about movies together like we do on a daily basis. So I am the lucky one, Fuzzy. So allow me, I gracefully and graciously accept your very gracious thanks, but allow me to turn that around and say to you, Fuzzy, to all of you guys who make this a fun place to be, who make this a fun job for me, who make me look forward to getting on here every day to have these great discussions and these great talks and have some fun and whine and complain about the New England Patriots signing Antonio Brown and everything else in between. Honestly, sincerely, and with my whole heart, thank you guys. And thank you, Fuzzy, for saying that. And I appreciate it, brother. All right, let's move on, shall we? Sorry, just had a big jump. That's where we jumped from. We jumped from right here. Okay, Joshua Howard writes, what effect, if any, will Joker have on the comic book movie genre? More standalone films, or perhaps change the way they are written and directed? No, I don't think it's going to affect. I think, and what I've been looking forward to the most, and why I've been excited for this Joker movie from day one, is I think that Marvel is looking very closely at this. I think DC as a whole is looking very closely at this. I don't think this is going to change the way movies are written. Listen, a comic book movie right now is the #1 box office film of all time. All right. The comic book genre is by far the most powerful genre in all of movies right now. I don't think that the effect Joker will have will be to change the way that Marvel and DC make movies as far as how they're written and what they're like. What I do think it's going to do, though, is tell both of them, hey, guys, you can make movies that aren't part of the shared cinematic universe. You can tell some really interesting, standalone, isolated movies to tell some unique, creative stories that don't have to be handcuffed to shared cinematic universe nonsense. And I love shared cinematic universe. I do. I'm just sick and tired of everything having to be shared cinematic universe. It never used to be that way. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both. You can have shared cinematic universe and you can make, and look at this. A movie, Joker, might be best picture of the year. It just won Venice. And it didn't have Batman. And it's not in a shared cinematic universe. And there weren't 30 other superheroes standing around on the rooftops. And there weren't 25 other supervillains coming up out of the sewers. It's just Joker. Just Joker. And it could be the best film of the year. I hope, Joshua, that the big thing that comes out of Joker is that it encourages both DC and Marvel that moving forward, they should let filmmakers come to them that have great ideas that are not required to be a part and fit in with a larger shared cinematic universe. Make movies that are shared cinematic universe, and make a couple that aren't. There's a wild idea. Make a couple that are just good stories, good standalone individual films. That's what I hope comes out of this, Joshua. I really, really do. Anyway, Yusuf Alvi writes, you want to know what's crazy? That was the most trouble I think Khabib was ever in, and he still dominated. Now it's time. Khabib versus Tony. Can't wait. Listen, Tony, that is a fight that had been arranged 4 times. Tony Ferguson versus Khabib was arranged 4 different times, and every single time Tony had to back out. So I have my doubts that fight's ever going to happen. Here's the thing about Khabib. Like, he took one really good shot from Poirier, and it didn't even faze him. Like, if you watch the replay in slow motion, he backpedals, he takes one on the chin, backpedals, but if you look at his face, he never even looked worried. He never breathed hard. He never looked like he was in trouble. And even when Poirier put the guillotine on him, you could tell by the way that Khabib was positioned, you can tell, he's not in trouble. He's perfectly fine. He's breathing. His face wasn't turning red. He's okay. Because he knows how to angle it to just have the right amount of pressure taken off. And he was just sitting there letting Poirier gas out his arms, trying to complete a choke. And then when he was ready, he just slipped out of it, got on top of him and smashed him. I mean, it is crazy how dominant this guy is. I'm telling you guys, you can take your John Bones Jones, you can take Stipe, you can take whoever. It doesn't matter. Khabib Nurmagomedov is the baddest man on the planet, period. There's no doubt he is the best pound for pound fighter in the world, and he is starting to build a case that he may be the greatest of all time. He's not only never been beat, he's never come close to being beat. He's never even been in trouble. And you throw guys like ultimate beasts like Dustin Poirier in the ring with him, or Conor McGregor into the ring with him, or anybody else, and he destroys them. Destroys them without taking so much as a scratch. He is the baddest man on the planet. It is kind of nuts, Yusuf. It's absolutely kind of nuts. All right. A fan of Peanuts writes, watched It Chapter 2, quite enjoyed it. Acting was excellent. It was less scary, focused, and more funny and entertaining this time. My only problem, very long, 7.8 out of 10. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. You clearly enjoyed it a lot more than me. I would probably give it like a 4 out of 10 probably. Like if 5 is the line between I sort of liked it or I sort of didn't like it, if that's the line, if 5 out of 10 is the middle line, where I sort of liked it or I didn't sort of like it, I came right about here. It's just I didn't like it. It was unbearably too long for what it was. That movie did not need to be that long. Some movies do need to be that long. That one did not. I thought it was a mess. I didn't think it was funny. There are some Bill Hader moments that were funny, but overall, it wasn't as charming. I couldn't find myself cheering for these adults the same way I cheered for the kids in It Chapter 1. I don't know, there's a lot. But listen, you're not alone, fan. I've heard from a number of people that they actually really did quite enjoy the movie, and I'm glad you did too. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I didn't, but I'm glad you did. All right, Gabriel Reed writes, It Chapter 2 was the biggest disappointment of the year. it'll be on my list. Not on my list for worst film of the year, because it's not terrible. I don't think Chapter 2 is terrible, but it will probably be on my list somewhere for what you're saying, Gabriel, disappointing. It'll probably be on my disappointing list because I was expecting so much more because Chapter 1 was so good. Brandon Reeves writes, finally got around to seeing Bumblebee charming. I loved Bumblebee. You know, and look, I fully admit, like a lot of other people, when they said they were going to do a Bumblebee movie, I'm like, really? Really? After the disaster run we've had with the Transformers, but then we heard Travis Knight was directing it. It's like, okay, maybe it could be something. I like the word you're using, man, charming. I was really charmed by it. I was really, really charmed by it. I'm glad you enjoyed it, dude. Gabriel Rewrite, John, did you hear about the new movie called Constipation? Oh, God. About the new movie called Constipation, it hasn't come out yet. But Bing. Gabriel continues to write, you know how I embrace my mistakes? That sounds like something, for those of you listening to this and not seeing the video, Gabriel wrote, you know how I embrace my mistakes? I hug my kids. That sounds like something Ryan Reynolds would write about his kids. If you want to read some hilarious stuff, follow Ryan Reynolds on Twitter. And he is at his best when he destroys his kids. He will talk about his kids, and it's awesome. It's awesome the way he talks. That sounds exactly like something he would say about his kids. You know how I embrace my mistakes? I hug my kids. He's savage. He's absolutely savage against his own kids. I love it. It's hilarious. You could tell the dude totally loves him by the way he's totally merciless against him when he's on Twitter. It's amazing. Jamie Sundays writes, like it or not, AB makes the Pats way better. Oh, not if he's destroying the locker room. Not if he's a selfish son of a bitch like he was in Pittsburgh and like he didn't even get around to being. If he's that and he's a destructive parasite in the locker room and undermining the football culture that Bill Belichick builds there, then he does not make them better. If he takes a knee and submits himself to Bill Belichick, the Dark Lord of the Sith football, if he submits himself to not be insubordinate, and if he plays the role that Belichick gives him to play, then yes, he can make the Pats better. But I don't think he's going to do those things. He's proven he's a jackass. Antonio Clown Brown. And I would love for him to prove me wrong. He is an elite level talented dude. But he's not going to bend the knee. He thinks he's too good for that. He's not going to stay out of being insubordinate. He thinks he's above that. He thinks he's more important than everybody else in the room. He's not going to yield and take whatever role Bill Belichick tells him to do. He thinks he's Antonio Brown. I should do whatever I want to do. That's what he does. And he's going to be a destructive force to the Patriots culture. He's going to be a destructive force there. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Bill Belichick can wield his dark arts, the dark side of the force, and get him to get in line like he did with Randy Moss. I just don't think the guy's ego can be put in check. I just don't think his ego can be put in check. So by game 4, he'll be crying to get out. I hope I'm wrong. Because if you're right, and if he will take a knee, and he won't be insubordinate, and he'll know his role, as The Rock used to say, know your role. If he knows his role and does what Belichick tells him to do without complaining about it, without whining about it, and putting the team first, if he does that, yes, he will make the Patriots a better team. But I don't think he's going to do that. I hope I'm wrong. I really, really hope he proves me wrong. All right. Suthius writes, what concert costs 45 cents, 50 cent, and... Oh, God, when did this start happening where you guys had to start writing in these jokes? What costs, for those of you who are just listening to this on the Patreon podcast and not seeing this, what concert costs 45 cents, 50 cents, and Nickelback? Dum-dum. All right, Michael Bradley writes, hello, John. Star Trek The Motion Picture is coming back to theaters this month. I remember going as a kid and being incredibly psyched to see it. I gotta tell you, this is one of those movies that Rob and I don't agree on, is the original Star Trek The Motion Picture. I never thought that movie was all that good. To this day, I don't think it's that good. Wrath of Khan is genius. Search for Spock, not so good. Voyage Home, genius. Then number 5, which one was number 5? Number 5 was Sarek. or not Sarek, his brother. The one where they go and the guy is pretending to be God, that being is pretending to be God on the ship. Not so good. Number 6, The Undiscovered Country. Great. It's like with the Star Trek original cast movies, it's like to me there was a law. The even number films, not good. 1, 3, and 5, not good. 2, 4, and 6, awesome. So I was never that big on the original, but Rob, I'll tell you what, Michael, Rob loves that original Star Trek movie, I should say. Sorry about that. He loves that original Star Trek movie. He thinks that first Star Trek movie is great. I was never into it, but he loves it, and obviously a number of you guys do, so that's exciting for you, man, that you get to go see it again. All right, Madhu Vatten writes, just saw It Too, and I freaking loved it. That's awesome, man. I mean, just because I didn't like it doesn't mean you shouldn't like it. If you got some fun and joy and enthusiasm and you got your value out of it, that's great. And I wish I liked it as much as you did. Tristan Larson writes, It Always Sunny, season 14 starts up soon. I've never watched the show. A lot of people are surprised when I say that. A lot of people tell me, John, that seems like the type of show you would love, but I've never actually watched it. It's Sunny in Philadelphia. So I can't be too psyched about it. Hollid Love writes, hey, John and fellow Filthians, enjoy your Saturday. I'd be having a much better Saturday, Hollid, if it wasn't for the frickin' Patriots and what they seem to be doing. But Khabib going to Disneyland tonight, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good life right now. Suthius writes, what do you call security guards working in a Samsung store? Guardians of the Galaxy. Because Samsung phones are called Galaxy. You know, Galaxy Note 10, Galaxy S9. The Galaxy tablets are Galaxy Tab 6. By the way, the new Galaxy tablet, have you seen that? I think Android phones are certain Android phones are vastly superior to iPhones. I was a former iPhone user. But the iPads have always been better. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Android tablets. I do. I've owned a couple of Android tablets. I use an Android tablet right now. I've had it for a couple of years. I really like it. But iPads have always been better than Android tablets. I think until now. There's this new one out by Samsung called the Galaxy Tab S6. It's expensive. Not as expensive as an iPad, but it's expensive. But I watched a number of reviews of it last night, and all the tech heads are going nuts over this tablet. And it's the first time they're saying this could be better. This could be an iPad. It's not going to be an iPad killer, but they said this could be the first Android tablet that is legitimately better than the current iteration of an iPad. So I'm anxious to get my hands on it, to be honest with you. I'm excited about that. Anyway, but yes, what do you call security guards working in a Samsung store? Guardians of the Galaxy. There you go, Suthius. All right, Brian Esparza writes, top 10 in no order. Number 1, Her. That's a nice one. Number 2, Whiplash. Also a great one. Number 3, Star Wars OG. Number 4, Goodfellas. Number 5, Shining. Number 6, Moonlight. Moonlight's great. Number 7, Prisoners. Also great. Number 8, The Arrival. A couple of Denis Villeneuve films back to back right there. Number 9, Interstellar. Number 10, American Beauty. Not a lot. I think that's the first time American Beauty's popped up. Now, granted, it's a little bit of an uncomfortable topic because of the whole Kevin Spacey thing, but people forgetting how good American Beauty was. It was amazing. If I'm not mistaken, won Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Did it not? I believe it did. I like it. Goodfellas on the same list as Star Wars. Her on the same list as Interstellar. I love it. It's a great list. I love these things, man. Thanks for sharing your list, Brian. I like it. Solid list. Pat O'Connor writes, crap, I forgot Back to the Future trilogy. That's on a lot of people's list, man. It's a lot of people are very, very excited about. Father of a Legend writes, hey, John, what's the last film you walked out on because it was so bad? I've only ever done it a handful of times in my entire career, which when you consider how many movies I've gone to, the fact that I've probably walked out of less than 5. The last one I did, though, will be a surprise to you because it was nominated for Best Picture. And I thought it was terrible. Let me just bring it up here. It was Saoirse Ronan's. What was it called again? It was called not Hannah. Which one? Okay, Lady Bird. I walked out of Lady Bird. I got about an hour into Lady Bird, and I just couldn't take it anymore. It's now normally me, I'm like, all the Best Picture nominees are great. Some are better than others. And I'm usually right with everybody on that. Like this year, like Booksmart. I love that, right? And Lady Bird, everybody loved it. Everybody raved about it. It got nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. As a matter of fact, it was nominated, I believe, for 5 Oscars. Yep. It was nominated for Best Screenplay, Best Directing, Best Supporting Actress, Best Lead Actress, and nominated for Best Picture of the Year. It was nominated for all the big awards, and I couldn't even finish it. I thought it was clawing out my eyeballs boring. And it's not like I don't like those kinds of movies. Clearly I do. There's a lot of on my all-time favorite lists that are movies that are in that ilk. But for whatever reason, Lady Bird for me was unbearable. I just couldn't watch it. I tried. I was in that theater. I kept looking at pulling out my phone, just not turning on the display because I had it set where the time would always just display on it. So not turning on my display so I wasn't disturbing anybody. But just when I would flip my phone over, just very faintly, the time will come up on it. And I kept flipping it over and looking at the clock, and I was finally like, that's it. I tap out, and I walked out. That's the last film I walked out on. Mike Thompson writes, let's see. Mike Thompson writes, so will the next Spidey movie be a sequel to Far From Home that shares no continuity with it, or a reboot with the same cast? Why end it on a cliffhanger if they weren't sure they were doing at least one more? Well, here's my argument, Mike. Here's my argument. Spider-Man Far From Home did not end on a cliffhanger. It didn't. Oh, they threw in a cliffhanger in the post-credits, but that's not the movie. The movie itself did not end on a cliffhanger. So I say, if I were in charge of Sony, which everybody should be completely thrilled that I'm not, but if I were in charge of Sony, what my approach would be is a soft reboot. And by soft reboot, I mean continue on with the characters and what their development has been, but change the story context they're now living in. Like, keep going with Ned and MJ and Peter and Flash and, you know, the school teachers. Continue on with that and what their characters' backgrounds and their interactions have brought them to, and continue on with that. But change the narrative story that they're living in. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. And as far as, you know, why end on a cliffhanger? And again, I don't think they did land on a cliff. The movie ended with an ending. Then they did a little something in the post-credit scene, but still. If they weren't sure they were going to do at least one more, I don't think Sony expected Disney to do what they did. I don't think Sony expected Disney to suddenly kick Spider-Man out of the MCU because they wanted a completely different deal. I don't think Sony expected Disney to come back and say, we want part ownership of Spider-Man again, to which Sony understandably went, how about this? Which is understandable. You would have done that too, and so would I, and so would anybody in their right mind. Because Disney wanted to have co-financing agreements. Well, if they start financing the films, suddenly now they have rights in the films. When they're not a financer, they have no rights in the films, and they shouldn't. The rights belong to Sony, and Sony was unwilling to give those up. So Disney was going to say, you either give us some of the rights back or we're going to kick Spider-Man out of the MCU. Sony said, how about that? And Disney said, well, then we're not going to have Spider-Man in the MCU anymore. So I don't think Sony saw that coming. Maybe they should have. I don't know. Maybe Sony thought, hey, everybody's happy. We're all making money. The fans love the movies we're making together. We're all making big cash. Why would Disney want to sabotage that? Yeah, Disney decided to sabotage it. In Disney's defense, Disney doesn't need Spider-Man. I mean, they've got so many characters, and they've got all these new characters coming with X-Men and Fantastic Four and all that they got to make room for now. In Disney's defense, they don't really need to have Spider-Man. So that could have something to do with it, and I get it. But Sony doesn't really need Marvel either. Not a single live-action Spider-Man movie's ever made under $700 million. Think about that. Lots of MCU movies have not made $700 million, but never once has a live-action Spider-Man movie made by Sony ever made under $700 million. It's never happened. And their last two Spidey universe type of films they did, one won an Academy Award and one made over $800 million at the box office. So they'll be fine. But yeah, if I'm in charge of Sony, Mike, I am continue on with the character arcs, but change the overriding narrative and just ignore everything that was MCU connected. That's how I would approach it. I think there'll be 2 seconds of confusion as the new movie starts, and then it'll just become clear what they're doing and everybody will be fine. I honestly think that. I don't think the audience is as stupid as we make them out to be sometimes, and I think they'll be fine. I really do. Amir Nali, and this will be the last question we take, and then I'm going to take a quick break, guys. We've been going almost 2 hours. I need to refill my drink. My throat's getting awfully sore. All right. Amber Nile writes, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, dude. I have no idea when Disney Plus will be available here in Australia, but I can't wait. Looking forward to Mandalorian, even though I have no idea what it is. Don't matter. It's still Star Wars. Oh, man, you and me, brother. No, look, I don't love everything Star Wars. There's a number of the Star Wars movies I really don't like. There's some Star Wars TV stuff I don't like. I like some of the animated stuff like Rebels. I don't like other animated stuff like Clone Wars. But whatever. But no matter what, I'm excited about Star Wars. I'm excited about the possibilities. And then maybe I'll love it, maybe I won't. But I always get excited by it nonetheless. My one fear, though, for you, my friend, and for the other people writing in is that I hope you don't have all of the Mandalorian spoiled for you, a year before Disney gives you the opportunity to watch it on Disney Plus. I really hope Disney is able to put together something to facilitate the people in the markets who are not going to have Disney Plus for a while to be able to watch The Mandalorian without the risk of it being spoiled by everybody before it comes out. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, there's that. Okay, guys, listen. I am going to take a short 3-minute break here. I need to rest up the voice for a couple of minutes. My throat's starting to get a little bit sore. I need to refill my drink. So 3.5 minutes, guys. 3.5 minutes, and then we will be right back. I'll see you momentarily. are back. Thank you guys for hanging in there and waiting for me as I took a little bit of a break there, refilled my drink, gave my voice a little bit of a break. All right, let's keep things rolling now here. We still got a bunch of questions to get to, and we're going to keep going here now with Razor's Edge Frisbee, who writes, one of two. Top 10 in no particular order, except number 2 and 1. Number 10, Forrest Gump, my wife's all-time favorite film. Well, no. One of them. My wife's all-time favorite film is big, but I think Forrest Gump might be number 2 or number 3. Number 9, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I am a man of constant sorrow. Anyway, 8, OG Star Wars. 7, Return of the King. 6, Exorcism of Emily Rose. I like that one. I have not seen that on that list yet. Number 5, Matrix. Number 4, Hacksaw Ridge. I love Hacksaw Ridge. Number 3, Mad Max Fury Road. Number 2, Logan. Number 1, Shaun of the Dead / Hot Fuzz. I got to admit, I love Shaun of the Dead. I'm not a huge Hot Fuzz fan. And I know people who like Hot Fuzz more than Shaun of the Dead. But yeah, I remember actually, let me just see if I can, I don't think I have it, but let me see. Why am I, I'm freezing on, why am I freezing on his name? Edgar Wright. Hold on a second. I'm going to see if I can find this. I got this amazing picture that I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it here because I'm not sure. I did find it. Oh my God. Here it is. Okay. True story. So a bunch of years ago, now I've been lucky enough that I've been able to have Edgar Wright. I've been able to do stuff with Edgar Wright several times. I've had Edgar on my Masters of the Web panel. I got to have him. I got to present him with the AMC Film Fanatic Award at Comic-Con once year. They actually invited me, and I got to go down and do the Q&A. I moderated the Q&A for World's End with Edgar Wright and Nick Frost and Simon Pegg, and I've gotten to do a lot of different stuff with him. But the first time I ever met Edgar Wright, was back many years ago, before Shaun of the Dead came out. And what was happening was Edgar Wright was coming to Canada to do the first Canadian screening of Shaun of the Dead. It was in Toronto. And I was doing the movie blog at the time, and they invited a couple of us from the movie blog to come to watch Shaun of the Dead. And it was great because as they're doing the Q&A afterwards, they even gave a shout out to the movie blog because we were talking about this new movie, Shaun of the Dead, ad nauseum on our site at the time. And I got this picture. Let me just see if I can look this up here. When did Shaun of the Dead come out? Shaun of the Dead came out in 2004. So this picture was from 15 years ago. 15 years ago, but it was that night in Toronto at the theater. They had given us a shout out. This is me and Edgar Wright 15 years ago. Both of us looking quite different than we do today. That's me and Edgar 15 years ago. Definitely both of us looking about 15 years younger than we do now. But that was us back then at that. Anyway, I fell in love with Shaun of the Dead that night. And I know a lot of you guys absolutely love Shaun of the Dead as well. I absolutely fell in love with Shaun of the Dead that night. And I became kind of like a lifelong fan of Edgar Wright and Simon and Nick all at the same time that year. So that was great. Anyway, so I am kind of predisposed to loving a lot of stuff that Edgar does. By the way, Baby Driver, how good was that? But I gotta admit, I think my least favorite Edgar Wright movie might actually be Hot Fuzz, which is funny because a lot of people will think that's even better for them than Shaun of the Dead. And I think it's Shaun of the Dead. clearly. But anyway, that's just me. That's just my opinion on that Razor's Edge. I'm glad you have it on your list, my friend. You got some really good ones on your list there, too. I like that you got Oh Brother or Art Thou, especially. I like that you got that on there. All right. Superman Steve writes, I absolutely love your hat. I like this hat, too. Somebody showed me this hat, and I'm like, I got to have that hat. And by the way, like... it's got that written underneath it too. Fell in love with this hat. I had to get it. So I've had it for a little while now. I've never worn it on the show, but I really dig this hat. Thank you for giving me a little compliment for my hat. Jamie Sundays writes, The Florida Project is a perfect movie for me. Is that the Willem Dafoe one? Hold a second. The one with the kid. If it is, that movie's brilliant and I love it, but I can't read. Yes. That's the one from 2017. Wait a minute, do I have the right one? Oh, yeah, that is the right one. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. It's a wonderful movie. And, it's one of these little films that a lot of people didn't pay attention to, but the Oscars paid attention to it. The Oscars noticed it, and it got a lot of Oscar buzz that year. It's a wonderful film, Jamie. I'm glad you liked it. Razors, we already did that one. Jethro Ow writes, Ferguson has a better chance than Poirier? Maybe. Ferguson is a beast when he's actually fighting. When Ferguson is actually fighting, he can be a legit beast. We'll just see if this fight actually happens, though. Dennis Riaz puts in a really big super chat. Thank you, Dennis, for supporting the channel on that level. I appreciate it, brother. Blast from the Past, Matilda and Mrs. Doubtfire are not my favorite movies, but they hold the most special place in my heart because they're my mom's favorites. We watch them at least once a year. Today is my birthday. Oh, happy birthday, Dennis. I hope you have a marvelous day and a fabulous year ahead of you, brother. So happy birthday to you, my friend. You know what's funny? It's funny that you bring up Matilda because, as you guys know, in August, just a couple of weeks ago, Ann and I took a quick trip back to Canada. We went to go visit my family. And we went out to the family's got a cottage right on Lake Erie, right on the water. And, I'm going to see, sorry about this, but this is like my favorite picture, I think, ever. I think this might be my favorite picture. So while we were there, it was the first time me and Ann went to the family cottage. And while we were there, if I can find this damn picture, there it is. I don't think I've showed this on the show before, but me and my dad's the greatest man I know, went out to sit on the front lawn of the cottage right on the water. And Ann saw us, and she took this picture of me and my dad. So that's me and my dad with our dog, Daisy. I love that dog, Daisy. So me and my dad sitting by the water. Ann took that picture. This is a picture I am going to get taken to some professional place and get printed and framed. It's my all-time favorite picture. Anyway, why does that come up? Because on this day that this picture was taken, my sisters were there with some of their kids, and in the cottage, they had the TV on, and they were playing Matilda. I can't remember the last time I saw Matilda. It's been at least a decade. And that day, just a few weeks ago, up there in Canada, as my sister's kids were running around, they put on Matilda, and that was on. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't seen this in forever. And so I find that to be so hilarious, Dennis, that you bring it up now. Because honestly, I couldn't tell you when the last time was that somebody brought up Matilda on my show. I can't remember the last time somebody brought up Matilda. So I think that's really funny that you bring that up now. And Mrs. Doubtfire, oh, what a special movie. And obviously, if those are your mom's favorites, those are going to be special to you forever, right? Like me, I'm always going to have a soft place in my heart for two types of films. One, a specific film, Old Yeller, because I believe that's my dad's all-time favorite movie. So I'm always going to have a soft spot for Old Yeller. But also for Sherlock Holmes, because my dad used to love Sherlock Holmes. So I'm always into Sherlock Holmes. So there's that too. So I can completely relate with you, Dennis. I can completely relate to you. And once again, brother, happy birthday to you, my friend. All right. Kurt Shand writes, thoughts on Chappelle's new special, Sticks and Stones? I think it's one of the better specials of the last few years. Again, I haven't had a chance to see it yet. I don't watch a ton of stand-up comedy specials, but this is one I'm interested in. Better than Mulaney's? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I've talked to a few people that love it. I talked to a few people who say it's not actually that funny. Like, it's more edgy than funny, and they think people just like it because it's edgy, but it's not actually that funny. But then I have other friends that think it's just hilarious. So I haven't had a chance to see it myself yet, but once I do, I'll share my thoughts on it. Anyway, a fan of Peanuts writes, Too many films, so here's my top 10 films of 2000 to 2010. Inception, Toy Story 3, The Dark Knight, No Country for Old Men, that's a good one. There Will Be Blood, best performance by a male actor maybe in the history of film, in that one for Daniel Day-Lewis. Pan's Labyrinth, God, fantastic movie. Harry Potter, The Prisoner of Azkaban, The Return of the King, 2 Black Swan, and number 1 Gladiator. I like that you got Black Swan. I don't think, out of all the people, Fan of Peanuts, that have sent in top 10s, I don't think anybody's sent in Black Swan. I've seen a few with Inceptions, Toy Story, Dark Knight, No Country, There Will Be Blood, maybe not. And maybe not Pan's Labyrinth either. But anyway, those are a couple of really, really good ones you got in there, man. It's probably a good idea that you limited it to that one decade. So that's a good thing to do, man. All right, Suthius writes, I'll play along. Top 5 in no order. This ranking is based on rewatchability. Planet of the Apes, 1968, Speed, Predator, really, Predator, Dumb and Dumber, and Avengers. I love Dumb and Dumber. And you know what? I'm one of the few people, Suthius, that I liked Dumb and Dumber 2. A lot of people bag on that movie, man. A lot of people bag on Dumb and Dumber 2. I thought it was great. I love Dumb and Dumber 2. Not as good as the first Dumb and Dumber, granted, I admit, but I liked it a lot nonetheless. So I'm glad you got that on your out there, dude. All right, JC Am writes, where have you visited in Mexico do you like? I've only visited Mexico once, and it was only for a couple of hours. Ann and I took a cruise, and the cruise ship went into Mexico, and we disembarked from the ship and I can't, Escondida. I honestly can't remember the name of the town. I cannot remember the name of the town. But honestly, we didn't do much. We walked around the streets a bit, hit a little restaurant, ate something quick, and then we went back to the ship. And we spent the rest of the day doing activities on the ship because the ship was really, really cool, and we didn't want to be off the ship for that long. But that's really the only time I've ever been down to Mexico. That was the only time I've ever been there. So, and it was such a limited experience that I can't really say what kind of experience I had. I mean, hey, we saw some of the architecture, and we ate some food and had a Coke and went back to the ship. So not much of an exposure, unfortunately. I'm not a world traveler. I wish I was. All right. Daniel Luna writes, John, the fact that we were able to see Spider-Man holding the Infinity Gauntlet while in the Iron Spidey suit. Thank you, Disney. You're the best, John. I mean, you know what, Daniel? I think that's an important thing that a lot of us should hold in mind here. And this is something that both Kevin Feige and Sony have been saying since they parted ways, which is, hey, guys, how amazing is it that we were able to have 2 big major studios come together and partner and have Spider-Man in 5 MCU films? The 2 standalone Spider-Mans, Infinity War, Endgame, and Civil War. I mean, that's amazing. So maybe, instead of us all crying about it, maybe we should just take a second and go, man, wasn't that amazing that we got... I mean, Rob brought that point up the other day on the show. Rob made a really good observation on the show the other day. He brought that up, and I agree with him 1,000% when he said, you know what, we should just be, instead of lamenting the fact that they're not doing more now, we should stand in awe and go, oh my God, thank you, Sony, thank you, Disney, that the 2 of you were able to come together and make this set of 5 films happen with these couple of Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man being in with these other MCU heroes. We got 5 of them. It's hardly ever happened before. And the fact that they were able to do that, and we, instead of whining and complaining like a lot of us are doing, I'm going to include myself in that a lot as well. I'm guilty of this too. So, but maybe instead of whining and complaining about the fact that Disney sabotaged it, maybe we should just be really happy and grateful that Disney and Sony were able to make a deal like that happen in the first place, and we were able to get the films that we got. And, that's probably the healthier way to look at it. I think Rob's onto something there. That maybe that's the better way for us to look at it. So anyway, you're absolutely right, Daniel. I like the sentiment a lot. All right, JC Am writes, no, that's a piece of crap. We stopped selling that 6 months ago. Nice gesture, though. It's from a comedy. Let me see if I can find it. I feel like, what is it from? No, that's a piece of crap. We stopped selling it 6 months ago. Old School. Okay, I was on totally the wrong track. I knew it was a comedy. But I was completely on the wrong track. I was not thinking Old School. That is not that was not what I was thinking. Was it old school? I think it was. Anyway, so I knew it was a comedy, but my mind was going off on totally the wrong track there, JC. All right, Michael Redhead writes, have Hollywood exhausted time travel movies? I'm afraid they are done like courtroom dramas. Not had a good one of either for ages. I'm always down for good courtroom drama. The thing about courtroom dramas is that there's so much courtroom drama on television now. Like, television has so much courtroom drama that it's hard for movies to do it at this point. But, I mean, kind of in a way, Michael, you're asking the wrong guy, because I don't like time travel in movies. In general, there are exceptions. Back to the Future, Star Trek, Star Trek, The Voyage Home. There are time travel movies that I do like. But for the most part, I find time travel to be a lazy man's writing device, because there is no problem in any movie ever in history that couldn't be solved with time travel. Time travel solves every problem you have. We got a narrative problem. We can't think of a creative way to solve it. Time travel. Okay. There's not a single problem in any movie in history that can't be solved with a little bit of time travel. So that's why I don't like it. So I thought they were played a long time ago. And I'll be straight with you. I thought the weaker elements of Endgame were the time travel stuff. I did. But I mean, I still loved Endgame, but I thought the weaker elements of Endgame. So you might be onto something. Yeah, but as far as the courtroom drama stuff, that might be because more it's so played in televisions. But you know what, Michael? That's something that's worth having like an hour-long discussion about. Because I think it's a really interesting topic. Anyway, thanks for sending that in, man. All right, Aiden Foley writes, thanks for what you and your crew do for the movie community. It is our honor. Thank you, Aiden. I will have been watching for a year now in October. Y'all are great. Hashtag, what the hell, Antonio? Yeah, that's going to be my hashtag for the day. What the hell? Actually, it'd be more like, what the hell, Patriots? There's really more of what's going to be on my list. This is, what the hell are you doing, Patriots? Why would you sign this guy? Why would you sign this clown after all the locker room destruction that he caused in Pittsburgh, and then all of the destruction he caused in with the Raiders, and he didn't even play a game, and you bring this guy in? I mean, I get it. Darth Belichick, if anybody's going to straighten this dude out, it's him, but I think this guy's hopeless. I think he's hopeless. I think he's a lost cause. I really do. But again, all I can do now is sit back and hope desperately that I'm wrong about that. We'll see. All right, a fan of Peanuts writes, years 2011 to 2019 top 10 list. Logan. Oh, I put that higher. 8th grade. Really nice little film. 8. Manchester by the Sea. Great masterpiece of a film. The Revenant. The Witch. Inside Out. I love. That is an often overlooked Pixar movie, man. Anyway, for Boyhood. That took 75 years to make. The Babadook Prisoners and Incendies? Wait a second. I'm not familiar with that. Hold a second. Do I know this movie? IMDb. I'm not. There is a movie called Incendies, and I'm not even sure I'm getting it right. It was directed by. It was a Denis Villeneuve film, so I'm unfamiliar with it. I don't know anybody who's in it. I don't ever think it got a theatrical release. But it's Denis Villeneuve, so maybe I should check it out at some point. Anyway, interesting that you put that on there, Fan of Peanuts. Thank you for including that. Let's see here. Where was the Fan of Peanuts? Sorry, guys, we took another big jump. Okay. Okay, guys, listen. I have got to get ready here to go to Disneyland soon. So I'm going to ask now, if you have not done so already, please do not send in any more super chats. So if you haven't done so already, please don't send in any more super chats. I appreciate all the support, but I've got to cut off the show here soon because I got to go start getting ready to go to Disneyland. So let's keep things rolling here. Michael Bradley writes, Star Trek the Motion Picture was like Avengers Endgame to me as a kid. I like the movie, but the wormhole scene is cringeworthy. Again, there are people who are much smarter about Star Trek than me that love that movie. Love that first Star Trek movie. And it never worked for me, which is part of the reason why it was so surprising to me that I like the second one so much. But there are people out there, dude, that really passionately love that Star Trek movie. And again, one of the most knowledgeable Star Trek historians that I know, Robert Meyer Burnett, he particularly loves that movie, Michael. So, and if that's holds a special place to you because of what it was to you when you were growing up, like the return of the Enterprise and everything back to the big screen, I can respect that. I can totally respect that. Thank you for sharing your passion, my friend. Thank you for sharing your passion. All right. James Argento writes, over under 45% Ewoks are in episode 9 with... I don't know what you're talking there. They're over 40% Ewoks are in episode 9. I'm going to go under on that. I don't think that was on Endor. I could be wrong, but I think that shot we see in the trailer, you're asking that, I'm guessing, because maybe you think that's on Endor. I don't think that was on Endor, but it might be. If it is on Endor, over 45%, but I don't think it is, so I'm going to take under. I wouldn't say 10%, but I'll take under on the 45. Josh Phillips writes, James McAvoy has been in 3 disappointing movies this year, Glass, Dark Phoenix, and It. Yeah, now, look, and in the case of Glass and Dark Phoenix, Glass and It, there are a lot of people who really like those movies. I'll be honest, I like Split very much. I thought Glass was a letdown. I thought Glass was disappointing. But McAvoy was crazy good in that movie. The movie itself was a letdown to me, but McAvoy was stupid good. Like, stupid good. Dark Phoenix, I didn't think it was as big of a train wreck as a lot of people say, but it still wasn't great, and it was disappointing. I was hoping for a lot better. And It, yeah, man, I mean, again, the film has its fans that really enjoyed it, and that's awesome. I wish I was one of them. But, yeah. But again, none of those films are James McAvoy's fault. I mean, McAvoy is acting his ass off as best as he can in those movies, so I'll give him that. I love James McAvoy, I really do. All right, Neil Before Zimmer writes, I like that name, writes, do you think deepfake tech could be a good thing for society? Could the rise of fake videos deal a blow to the instant outrage culture we live in? No, I see something very, very bad happening as a result of deepfake. Now, look, this is beyond the scope of movies and television. I think we are right on the edge, I would say, of something very bad happening as a result of somebody using deepfake technology. Do I think it's good for society? No. Do I think it's good for the filmmaking industry? Yes. Good for society? No. The only thing I can see good coming out of it is people using it for some really deceptive stuff that maybe ruins people's lives. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. It's very possible I could just be being paranoid, but I feel like we're on the edge of something really bad happening for some people and individuals as a result of something being pulled as a result of deepfake. I don't know that for sure, and maybe I'm just being stupid paranoid, but I worry about it, I do. Slim Trav writes, WTF with Bloodshot supposed to release in February? I doubt it. I mean, apparently it's wrapped filming and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I have not really tracked it very much. Like I didn't even know if it was really even going to film, and then I found out it was filming. Maybe they even already shot it. I mean, I don't know, but I have a hard time seeing it getting a theatrical release. But maybe it will. Maybe it will. Haskell 420 writes, happy Saturday, John. Thank you so much, Haskell. A bunch of things for you. Number one, as a Jets fan, just foobar because it will work, and you know it because we got to play the Jets a few times. LOL, it always does. Number two, Khabib is unreal. He absolutely is. 2 of 2. Thoughts on Nate Diaz versus Midvidal at the UFC 244. 5-round epic battle. Did you get my email regarding Metallica Symphony Tics? Oh, I did, and I saw the links. It was great. That stuff was great with the Metallicas. Thank you for sending that stuff to me. I'll be honest with you. I think the Nate Diaz versus Jorge Midvidal is going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be a very, very good fight. But let's not forget, Midvidal has not lost, he's not undefeated. He's not lost 1 fight. He's not lost 2 fights. He hasn't lost 3 fights. He hasn't lost 4 fights. He hasn't lost 5 fights, and he hasn't lost 6 fights. He's lost 13 fights. So while he is a very entertaining fighter, and I love seeing him do that fastest knockout of all time with the flying knee in his last fight, I loved it. It was great. Let's not pretend like he is one of this generation's great fighters. The dude's lost 13 fights. He's a good fighter. He's an entertaining fighter, and it'll be fun. Nate Diaz has not lost one fight, not 2 fights, not 3 fights, not 4 fights. He's lost a lot of fights. He's a super entertaining fighter, and I love watching him fight. And watching him fight Masvidal is great. But let's not pretend like these are 2 of the great fighters today. They're actually not. They're 2 solid fighters, but this is not, Tony versus Khabib, This isn't, John Jones versus Johnny Walker. This isn't Stipe versus DC. This is 2 mid-level guys who are incredibly entertaining to watch fight who are going to have a fight. So I'm looking forward to the fight. I think it's going to be super fun. But to me, it doesn't carry a ton of importance because it's not like it's 2 of the truly greatest fighters in the world right now. They're not. Neither one of them are. They just have way too many losses on both of their resumes. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. All right, NPE writes, well, I could be wrong, but I believe diversity is an old wooden ship that was used during the Civil War era. Okay, first of all, I love the incorporation there in PE of the Anchorman stuff there. It's an old wooden ship that was used there. First of all, in PE, that movie is one of the most infinitely forever quotable movies of all time. And you put a smile on my heart just by bringing it up, something like that. So that's great. I love the incorporation of that, man. Thank you for that. You put a smile on my face, MPE. Thank you. MPE also writes, why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was Again, for those of you Patreon supporters who are hearing this in the audio-only podcast, I will finish reading out what NPE has gone from putting a smile on my heart to putting a slapping my face on my heart. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field. Bum, NPE. Bum. All right. Film Chris writes, do you think Khabib could move up to welterweight to challenge Usman? That would be a great fight, but Colby will probably fight him first, though. Well, here's the thing. Usman hasn't defended the title once. I think, honestly, for me, if you're going to have these super fights of champion versus champion, I personally feel like they should be 2 champions that have defended their titles multiple times. And you can then make the argument they've already defeated the best in their division. Usman hasn't defended the title yet. So, no, I don't see that happening. Khabib is great at his weight. I think he's going to finish his career undefeated. But I could see making an argument for a fight like that if Usman beats Colby Covington, which I think he will without too much trouble. But then he's got a couple of other guys in that division he's got to fight and beat. And if he does that, then I think now you got Khabib, who's defended his title multiple times. You got the champion in that weight class who's defended their titles multiple times. Then a super fight starts to make sense. Then a super fight makes sense to me. And it's not like the UFC hasn't done that before in the past. They have, but I still think it's only appropriate to do those types of fights if you've got champions who have defended their titles multiple times. Then you start talking about a super fight. At least that's the way it makes sense to me. It's not always the way the UFC has done it, but that's the way it makes sense to me. It's a great question, though, Film Chris. Thanks for bringing that up. All right. Jamer Scott writes, thoughts on David Fincher and his filmography? Oh, I like David Fincher very much, and his filmography is great. Somebody was asking me actually the other day if I thought Fincher is in the top 10 of all time. They asked me where in the top 10 of all time directors does Fincher land. And I said, to be honest with you, he's among the greats, but I wouldn't say top 10. Out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of directors out there that have done it and do it today, David Fincher is up near the top, but I don't know that I have him in my top 10, but he's a magnificent filmography. NP94 writes, I know a joke about pizza, but oh God, what is it with you guys today? Okay, for those in the podcast, I know a joke about pizza, says NPE94, but it's a bit cheesy. I don't know what is with you guys sending this stuff in. Okay, anyway, Haskell420 writes, oh God, I hope Gronk doesn't change his mind now. Okay, 1 second. That would be the one thing that would make me feel better today. If Gronk were to come out and say, you know what, I want to come back, and he comes back and he's ready by like game 3 or 4, then I'll feel better about things. Holy crap, that would make my day. That would totally make my day. All right, Artur Mansouri writes, 1 of 3. I used to watch every movie that came out, but with work, college, etc., I have to limit time and choose movies more carefully. If there's 3 movies out now that you want to see, but you can't because of limited time, how would you choose which one to watch? I always go by critic ratings and critic rating, but sometimes a low critic rating for a movie could end up on your favorite movie list. Of course it does, absolutely. So my question is, what's your process of choosing which movie to watch? Thanks. All right, so this is a good one because Ann and I face this sometimes. Because, you know, Ann is very busy. She can't go to every movie. So for us, it's a balancing act of how much we like the trailers versus the critic scores, right? So like, if there's a movie we're really excited about seeing and then all of a sudden the critic scores come out and it's like 14%, well, we're going to take a pass on it. Maybe we would have loved it, but I mean, if like 86% of the critics are saying they don't like it, chances are we won't like it. It's not a guarantee, but chances are. So, but we don't just go by critic scores. Like, so we try to balance it out. Like, how much were we looking forward to it? Balanced out against what are people saying about it. And then we just come to a conclusion. Then we leverage that and then try to say to ourselves, ultimately, which movie do we think will be better? You know, from looking at how it looks, our own eye test, balanced against what the critics are saying, which one do we think, when we put those two things together, our eye test with the critic scores, which one do we think will end up being the better movie? And sometimes the movie we think will be the better movie won't be the one that we were most excited about. And we'll usually go by what balancing our eye test with the trailers and the critic scores and balancing those things together, not just one or the other, which one do we think will be the better film? And then that's what we end up going with. But everybody, you're right, Artur, sometimes there are movies that you think look terrible and they'll be great. Sometimes there are movies that the critics thought were terrible and you think will be great, and then you end up thinking it's great, right? Sometimes there are movies you think will be awesome and they end up being terrible. Sometimes there's movies that the critics say are awesome and you find it to be terrible. I mean, so there's no exact science to it because it is all subjective. So it's really an art. But again, for us, it's the balancing of our own eye test. How good do we think it looks? Balancing that with how good do the critics find it? And then coming up with then which one ultimately, balancing those things out, do we think will be the better film? And then that's how we decide. It's not a perfect system by any stretch, but there is no perfect system after all. Okay, thanks for that, Artur. All right, next up, Nikhil Shirsat writes, Disney Plus content will be streaming on Hotstar in India, FYI. Yes, I actually had somebody else wrote in that the other day because Disney actually owns Hotstar, which is a streaming service in India, and I think it's only for like $4 a month or something stupid like that. How crazy is that? Like, we think getting it for $7 a month is great, but apparently this Hotstar is like $3 or $4 a month. Unbelievable. So for the good folks in India, you have nothing to worry about when it comes to that, which is awesome. All right. Daryl Best Wadley writes, have you watched the Wu-Tang Saga on Hulu? Very good. No, but you know what's funny? Last night, because I watch a lot of Hulu, I popped on Hulu and that was the feature thing. That Wu-Tang thing was the feature thing there. And I'm like, I gotta watch that. Now, I've got to get through, there are 2 shows I got to get finished with. I've just finished Dark Crystal. I still got to get through Carnival Row and I got to get through Ballers. Once I get through those, then I'll start evaluating what's the next thing I'm going to watch is. But I remember seeing that pop up on my Hulu feature list yesterday and going, oh, that looks kind of good. So I may have to check that out here pretty quick. Marie Seifring, where'd she go? There she is. Marie Seifring writes, what did you think of the 2012 film The Master with Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman? And I believe Amy Adams was in that as well. Was Amy Adams in that as well? Hold on a second. Let me just double check. Philip Seymour Hoffman, one of his final films. Oh, I thought Amy Adams was in this. Hold on a second. Was she not? Who am I thinking of then? I could have swore Amy Adams was in this. Let me just double check something here. I feel like I'm on crazy pills. Because I thought for sure... Hold on a second. Okay, no, Amy Adams is in it. Okay, sorry. She's way down on the cast list, so she wasn't on the first page of the cast list. Anyway, I really like that movie. Now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be mistaken, I believe it was nominated for Best Picture that year. Let me pull it up here. It was nominated for 3 Academy Awards. It was nominated for Amy Adams for Best Actress in a Supporting Role. That's why I knew she was in it. Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role, and Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role. So Phoenix, Seymour Hoffman, and Amy Adams all got Oscar nominations. But no, I was wrong. It did not get nominated for Best Picture. I thought it did. It's one of those movies that I didn't think deserved to be nominated for Best Picture, but it was really damn good. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it. That was a roundabout way of getting to my thoughts on it. NPE writes, favorite foreign language film? Oh, that's easy. Life is Beautiful. The Roberto Benigni film, Life is Beautiful. And then after that would be the French film Amélie. And then after that would probably be Infernal Affairs. And Infernal Affairs is actually also my all-time favorite cop film. So, yeah, my 3 favorite foreign language films of all time: Life is Beautiful, Amélie, Infernal Affairs. Those are my 3 favorite foreign language ones. We should probably... I would love to start hearing a list from people. When people are sending in their list of their favorite... I would love to start seeing people send in their list of their favorite foreign language films. Doesn't have to be 10, maybe even just 5. I would love... That's a really good idea, NPE. I would like to hear people saying that, because that sounds pretty good. NPE writes, least favorite Best Picture win is it Crash? No, actually it's not. I am a Crash defender. I think Crash is a really brilliant film. Now, do I necessarily think it should have won that year? Maybe or maybe not, but I think there's an argument to be made for it when I really thought it was a wonderful, wonderful film. I really do. What do I think was the worst one? Hold on a second. Some people will say Dances with Wolves. I thought it was great. Some people complain about Shakespeare in Love. I thought Shakespeare in Love actually deserved it. You know what? A lot of people disagree with me on this. Chicago. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I dislike Chicago, but I didn't think Chicago was nearly as great. I didn't think Chicago should have been nominated for Best Picture, let alone win Best Picture. So I'm going to go, and all that jazz, I'm going to go Chicago. I don't think it's a bad film. Don't misquote me. I'm not saying I think Chicago is a bad film. But if there's one I could remove, it would probably be Chicago. Interesting question, man. Superman Steve writes, my top 5 of all time: Man of Steel. I love Man of Steel. Bless your heart for saying that one, Superman Steve. The Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, Hold My Hand, Boss. The Dark Knight trilogy, and Speed. I'm surprised to see Speed has never been one of my all-time favorites, but it's been one of those films where it's it's just, a good, fun film that we remember all enjoying, right? But it's never been up there amongst my, totally favorite of all time. But at the same time, it's one of those movies that if I'm ever flipping around and Speed is on, I'll probably stop and watch it. So that's a really interesting addition to your 5 there, Superman Steve. Like your list. All right. Stephen Foley sends in a really big super chat. Thank you, Stephen, for supporting the channel on that level, dude. Stephen writes in his top 10, my top 10 movies. Today, 1, The Godfather, 1 and 2. Number 2, Star Wars. Number 3, Apocalypse Now. Number 4, Shawshank. I mean, this is an all-time list right here already. 5, Braveheart. Love Braveheart. Totally should be on more top 10 lists. Number 6, Lord of the Rings. Number 7, Taxi Driver. Number 8, 2001. Number 9, There Will Be Blood. Number 10, The Usual Suspects. Usual Suspects is on my top 10 as well. Honorable mention, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. That's interesting because here's the thing, Stephen. I look at your list and I'm like, yeah. And then, but Fear and Loathing is a little bit out of place with the rest of them, which just speaks to the brilliance of the art of movie making. That we can get these, all of our lists will have these 1 or 2 in there that look like they're out of place, but they have a special place in our hearts, right? I think that's amazing. So solid list, Steven. Thanks for sharing it, dude. All right. Whew. Take one last gulp. All right. We've been going over 2.5 hours today. We're now into Final one of the day. It comes to us from SC, who writes, is there a chance of DC making a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie as a part of the DCU? That would be epic. I think it would be a colossal failure. I think particularly now, it would be an absolute colossal failure. I don't think the average film-going fans would be into it at all, especially right now with where the DCU is right now. Look, DC is heading in a good direction right now. They're establishing some good, solid foundation. We had a big win with Aquaman, a big win, I think, with Shazam, which I passionately love that movie. They're going to have another big win with Wonder Woman 84 with Patty Jenkins back to direct, of course. I've got some question marks about Birds of Prey, but notwithstanding that, they right now are in sports terminology, they're in a rebuilding year right now. They understood they did not have the success they wanted to have with the DCU at that point. They're now rebuilding. They're kind of establishing a solid foundation of success with quality movies that are having some success, and that's great. To throw in there right now something like, let's start talking about Crisis on Infinite Earths, I think would abandon their game plan. I think they would alienate a lot of the potential audience. I just think a lot of bad things would come out of that. I just don't see that as being... You could do something like that on a cheesy thing like the CW shows, which and by the way, I'm saying cheesy, but I love that stuff, right? But it's cool because it's a cheesy little TV universe. We can accept that stuff a little bit more. Even when you look at Marvel, with the way they built up to Infinity War and Endgame, something that abstract that I don't know that a regular audience would be able to handle or accept were it not for a 21 film buildup to it with a long 10-year long history of establishing success and both critically and financially and all that kind of stuff. And then you build up to that. So someday, maybe, but anytime in the next 3 to 4 years, I think would be a horrible mistake. I think they've got a good game plan right now. Their game plan, rebuild, establish a reputation of success and quality with the audience so that they come to expect quality from a DC movie when they come. And they've started that process. They had good success with Aquaman. Shazam's fabulous. Hopefully Wonder Woman 84 will be good. Hopefully Birds of Prey will be good. I don't have a lot of hope for Birds of Prey, but I think all those other ones do. This Joker movie is going to be a huge step in that direction. Keep doing that for a few years. And then maybe at some point you can look at something as abstract as Crisis on Infinite Earths. But as of right now, that would work better as a 10-minute YouTube video than it would for a movie, I think. I think it would be a colossal mistake on their part right now. 7 or 8 years from now, could be a totally different story. But right now, I think it would be a big mistake. Anyway, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you for being here and allowing me to weep and lament openly about what the hell are my Patriots doing. Signing Antonio the Clown Brown. Here's hoping, though. I mean, there's no denying the dude's talent. There's no denying his talent. But he is a culture wrecker. He destroys locker rooms. And that's why the Steelers were more than happy to part ways with him. That's why the Raiders got rid of him. And I think he'll be begging to get out from under a taskmaster like the great Darth Belichick. I don't think he's going to last 4 games, or I certainly don't think he's going to last 5. I think by the 4th game, he's going to be begging and crying on his social media. Oh, poor me. They won't let me do whatever I want. They actually want me to show up to practices, and they want me to run the routes they tell me to run, and they want me to do the things they want me to do. Don't they know that I'm Antonio Brown? I should just do whatever I want. I think he's going to be singing that same song and dance by week 4, and I think he'll be out. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully not. So thank you guys for allowing me to lament and whine and bitch and complain about this whole situation that's really, really got me bothered, as I'm sure you can tell. Anyway, guys, probably doing an open mic tomorrow. I'm planning on it, but a few things have been coming up for tomorrow that I can't talk about right now that may get in the way, but by later tonight, you guys will know if we're doing an open mic tomorrow. I'm planning on it, but something might get in the way, but I'll let you guys know for sure. Anyway, guys, hey, Thank you so much. What a great day. I got to watch some UFC fights. We had a great open mic. I get to go to Disneyland. I'm so lucky that I live so close. We can just hop in the car and drive there anytime. So that's great. Anyway, I hope you guys have a fabulous day as you have made my day fabulous, even in the horrible shadow of this Antonio Brown situation. Thank you so much, guys. And don't forget, the John Campea Show returns again on Monday morning. Me, Robert Meyer Burnett, Chris Carr will be here. Hopefully you guys will be here too. We clearly already have some big things we're going to have to talk about, like Joker winning the Venice Film Festival, for heaven's sakes. How exciting is that? We're going to have that, a lot of other stuff more. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, guys, bye-bye.